for the women as well. You had opening weekend in baseball. So there was a lot of things going on. You've got a lot of that this weekend. You've got South Carolina playing basketball at Alabama tomorrow afternoon. You do have a baseball series against George Washington that'll get going later today. You do have the women wrapping up the regular season against Mississippi. I don't know, a little bit different weekend though. The golf, the Honda Classic down in Palm Beach is not quite the same. Jen, I don't know, going out to California for the Auto Club, I think it's 400, I believe, is what we
It
picked.
is.
Yep, it's not quite the same, but it
It's
should
the
be
West Coast swing. They do that. They go to Vegas.
okay. Yep, similar to golf. Yep, get out there and drive your cars around. So it is that kind of weekend. But Patrick, is there anything in particular? Last weekend for you, you mentioned it was like a multi-television lacrosse weekend.
And well, it was baseball on one TV, basketball on another TV, and then lacrosse on one TV, and it didn't end up being enough.
Oh,
But I only have so many because I would have invested myself in 5 different things. I was still bouncing around on different things on the third TV, but I just don't have enough streaming devices anymore. So I'm maxed out on televisions, and I think that's probably going to be the case this weekend. I
okay.
mean, I basketball, baseball again, and lacrosse is just going to be a common theme for kind of the rest of the year.
The next several weeks.
I
Okay.
haven't looked too much at the college basketball slate at large this weekend. Is there a premier matchup?
We'll get into that. There's some good games. You don't have well, I was going to say you don't have a Duke, North Carolina, but given that North Carolina is not ranked right now, it's not that kind of weekend. But we'll get into the schedule that will be for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Again, both
There's good matchups in the SEC, that's for sure.
yeah. There's a couple, and there's
By the top 4 teams playing each other.
and one thing we'll do is we'll talk about the fact that there are games that you might need to keep an eye on, just from a standpoint of bubble teams and who could help themselves this weekend, who could hurt themselves this weekend as it pertains to South Carolina. Obviously, the Gamecocks could really help themselves. Last night, real quick, the women just annihilate Texas A&M 89-48. It wasn't really close. It was just an absolute beating. South Carolina decided to hand out once again. They just go into College Station there. They get up 42-21 at halftime and then decide that that's not enough. So they continue to pour it on in the second half. And again, they moved to 26-1 on the season, 14-1 in the SEC. They clinched the regular season championship in the SEC. They will go to the SEC tournament as the 1 seed. No shocker there. And yes, Aaliyah Boston, she finally breaks the double-double record. We've been watching it all season. It was the 20th straight double-double, Patrick, for her. She has been absolutely phenomenal. Gary Blair was coaching in his last game for Texas A&M, but last night it was Aaliyah Boston, 18 points, 10 rebounds. She gets the job done there, 6 of 10 shooting, and just 23 minutes for
Right.
her last night.
Ridiculous.
And an absolute dominant performance.
Do you think it's going to end at 20? You think it's over? Because are they all going to play on Saturday or Sunday?
Yes, Don Staley has no fear of walloping somebody. I mean,
No, not even walloping somebody. Just there's nothing to play for.
yeah,
The regular season title is completely clinched. Do you want to give them one game off before SEC tournament play, or is that not something that ever really happens in college basketball?
no, yeah, you don't do that in college basketball. You let them play. You go out, you play the game. 2:00 on Sunday, the women travel to Mississippi. I do want to ask this morning, 803-404-6100. 803-404-6100. You can also join us, as always, on the Buford Lending live stream. Anthony, DC, Jerry, Decor, Jan telling me it's a no-dose kind of morning. Oh, I got the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. We stopped by Dunkin' Donuts on the way in, all way, and you can go and join in.
No-dose is what is that?
They're like
something to kind of, it's like a caffeine, something or other to try to kind of perk you up.
Yeah.
Like in college, people would take no-dose to try to study for finals and stuff.
Probably not healthy.
No, probably
It's
not.
a pill form of 5-hour energy, basically.
Oh, there you go. Mhm.
That's the best way to describe it. Yeah, it's a pill.
Yeah, I've taken caffeine pills.
There
I
you
never
go.
thought that they worked.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I've stayed away from that. Let me ask
Me too.
this. 803-404-6100. Where will we put Aaliyah Boston in South Carolina athletics history. 20 straight double-doubles. This was a young woman who committed to South Carolina, and a lot of people thought she was going to Connecticut. A lot of people weren't exactly sure that she was going to come. She was I believe the number 4. I do not have that right in front of me, but I believe she was the number 4 recruit in the country, according to ESPN Hoop Girls, when she committed to South Carolina. It was a big pickup, and has come to South Carolina, has been absolutely dominant, has been everything that she was hyped up to be. You go back, it's only her 3rd year. She's averaged 9.4 points her first year. She averaged 11.5 last year and is now, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm looking at rebounds. She's almost averaged a double-double for her career. She averaged 12.5 points, 9.4 rebounds her freshman season, 13.7 and 11.5 last year, and this year 16.8 and 11.9. For her career, she's almost averaged a double-double. Asia Wilson has a statue out in front of the arena. I saw it again last night, as she rightfully should. She's a hometown girl. She has led South Carolina on to the national stage of college basketball. Aaliyah Boston has been just about every bit as good as Asia Wilson. And if you go through the history of the Connor Shaws and the Clowneys, and you go back and you talk about all of the great baseball players and other football players and other South Carolina men's basketball players, where, Patrick, will Aaliyah Boston just graduate? And because she's not from South Carolina and it's kind of a weird time, will we just say, yeah, that was a really good player, and just that's the end of the sentence? Or will people move her into the Mount Rushmore? And maybe that's unfair because there's only 4 of Mount Rushmore, but will we move her into the upper echelon will we talk about her in the same light that we talk about an Asia Wilson or a Connor Shaw, or think about more
Well, she's
recent?
better than Connor Shaw.
Connor Shaw's the all-time.
I mean, people love Connor Shaw, but if we're just talking about the best, it's the only football player that can be compared with her would be George Rogers, because he was the best in college football for a period.
Okay. Clowney, then I think you got to say.
But Clowney did not win the Heisman. I mean, he's up there. He was a number 1 pick, but that was also because of like projection and how much of a freak he was. He was obviously incredibly dominant, but I mean, those are the only 2 that you can throw in the conversation. Connor Shaw was not the best quarterback in college football.
Well, but I guess where I'm going with this is more of how we will look back and remember.
Yeah. I mean, she won't be remembered the same way as Connor Shaw is, but that's because it's football,
right?
And it was already a machine by the time she got there. And there's 6, 7 other great players on this team right now. But if you want to just say who are the best athletes at South Carolina, I mean, her and Asia have to be, I mean, objectively tied for first. I mean, how many other people have been the single best in the country? And she's going to do it again next year too.
Joe weighs in here. She says he says her story isn't over. She stands in a class of her own, the best. And I just got to thinking about it because what Aaliyah Boston has done, I feel like maybe
there's no one from men's basketball that can even be put in the same sentence as that.
I feel like you talk about Aaliyah Boston last night, again, 20 straight double-doubles. You look at the numbers, you look at everything she's done, and look, we do a sports talk morning show, so I blame us. Maybe we don't talk about it. I know it's women's basketball, and that's not everybody's cup of tea. But
the thing is, I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend yesterday. It's like there's nothing you can say when you win by 41. It's just like
it's true.
They're just so dominant. And I said there's a reason football is the easiest sport to talk about and break down, because there's all these different positional groups, and you can say, okay, well, this team's better than us on the offensive line, but their receivers can't match up with or our receivers can't match up with their corners and this and that. In basketball, it's just like, okay, well, all 5 players in South Carolina are better than all 5 players across from them. They're going to destroy them. I mean, that's just it. It is what it is. Yeah, this team's got one great player. Kentucky's got Ryan Howard. She'll be a top 5, top 10 pick of the WNBA draft, but everybody else in South Carolina is just way better, and nobody can stop Aaliyah Boston, and she's going to have a double-double tonight unless she only plays 15 minutes because they're already up by 30. It's like they're just that good.
I guess my point, and I've talked about this before, especially as I get older and try to watch sports maybe a little bit more with my son, and sit down and talk about it, is enjoying someone in the moment. maybe I go, but maybe I guess I start to think back and like I didn't if Peyton Manning was playing on a Saturday afternoon, or excuse Saturday afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday night game, I kind of took it for granted. I was like, oh, I'm not going to watch. All right, I'll catch him later. I'll watch it later. LeBron James is an incredible basketball player in the NBA. To just sit there and take in a quarter and to see some of the things he does is absolutely incredible, even at his age but his physical size. Aaliyah Boston now, in the present, in the here and now, because as Joe says, yeah, her story is still to be written. There's still things that she can do. She does need to win a national championship there with this particular team and kind of cement her legacy. But do we appreciate Aaliyah Boston in this moment, in this time as we're watching her? Because I feel like there's a tendency to not appreciate players as they're performing. It's after they leave and after we become removed from their career. We're like, man, I really enjoyed watching that person. I don't know if people can relate to that where there was a player that maybe you were watching at the University of South Carolina, or obviously if you like to wear the orange and purple and drive up there to the upstate and be that kind of fan, that's cool, whatever. It's your choice. But the bottom line is maybe there was a Clemson player that Clemson fans are just thinking about right now. And think, when that person was playing for Clemson, or again, as a South Carolina fan, as that person is playing for South Carolina, you go, man, I didn't really appreciate that person. But boy, 15 years later, I remember how great that player was. And that's what I tell my kids or my grandkids about. Does that make sense? Like, is there a Nationals player or a Wizards player or Redskins former? I'm going to stick with Redskins for the rest of my life. Your mic's not on.
I don't think so,
No, you're on.
because, I mean, in Washington, it's Ovechkin. But we all know how good he is, and he's the best athlete in the history of DC.
Okay.
But I don't that's kind of complicated for Aaliyah Boston, because on one hand, everyone's going to bat for her like crazy, social media, everything, signs at the game saying she's the player of the year.
Okay.
And it's not an argument. She's the best player. So people do appreciate how good she is, but I think they also maybe take it for granted in the sense that it's already written in stone that she's going to have a double-double. Like, no one doubted that she was going to have a double-double tonight. But maybe we take for granted how difficult what she's actually doing is, and we just know that she's that good, and we're just like, well, that's just who she is. And maybe we don't appreciate it because we now see number one class after number one class, five-star recruit after five-star recruit, and we say, okay, well, we're going to just have players like this every year. So when Aaliyah Boston graduates, we'll just have the next one. And that might not be the case. I mean, there is a time where every dynasty kind of stops, and we don't know when it'll be in, but it's not a guarantee that one of these players in the next couple classes is going to be as dominant as Aaliyah is. That's actually unlikely because she's one of the most dominant players in the sport.
Well, she deserves a lot of credit and she deserves a lot of recognition. I know Dawn Staley has been really, really going to bat for her over about the last 7 to 10 days for National Player of the Year, and certainly something she deserves. Again, last night, 89-48, South Carolina clinches the SEC championship, 26-1, 14-1 in the SEC. Again, they just absolutely pummeled Texas A&M and Aaliyah Boston, 18 points and 10 rebounds last night, 5 offensive, 5 defensive, just 23 minutes of action for her. And Dawn Staley's team rolls on. They will wrap up the regular season next Sunday, or this Sunday, I guess, at Mississippi. You can check that game out on the SEC network. And then starting next Wednesday, they will be up in Nashville. I guess they won't play on Wednesday. They're going to be one of the top seeds. They will get the bye. But next week is the women's basketball tournament, Nashville, Tennessee. You're familiar with that town.
Yep.
Good place.
Like that town.
Should be a chance to cap what has been another phenomenal season for Dawn Staley's team there as they move forward. If you want to join us this morning, 803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program. We got a lot we want to get into, talking a lot about obviously the women's team, but the men's team with a huge game tomorrow. And if they win that, Patrick, I had some stuff sent to me last night regarding the metrics and what South Carolina has. And there's a really good breakdown that I have of South Carolina's NCAA tournament resume. And it's pretty interesting to look at when it breaks down the net ranking, the strength of schedule, the overall, the quad 1, the quad 2, the road wins, the last 10, everything you look at. And it also gives me a breakdown of some of the key losses, but what was missing in those losses. For example, the Clemson game, James Reese was out, Devin Carter was out, Wildens Levesque was out, A.J. Wilson, who back at the beginning of the season was considered a key cog, did not play. Josh Gray did not play for the Clemson game. And these are things that the NCAA tournament will look at, NCAA tournament selection committee will look at. We'll get into that a little bit. And I want to pick your brain on a quarterback in the NFL who has a Super Bowl. You might know who I'm talking about. Has a Super Bowl, but doesn't appear to have a home.
Has just like Jimmy Garoppolo has a Super Bowl. Maybe a little.
What will be our opinion of Carson Wentz?
You want me to answer that right now?
No, I don't. I'm just throwing it out there. 803-404-6100, how you can join us this morning. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines, and let's get to Steve first up this morning. Steve, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
I just want to say, Patrick kind of made. I wouldn't have. I was at Carolina in late 70s to 81 when I graduated, and George Rogers was, even though the team was decent, we were always 8-3 when he was there, but that was a man. I watched a lot of football games. I saw one defensive back stop him by himself, and his name was Ronnie Lott when we played Southern Cal. But you think about, you go back to basketball. Back when I was younger, you had the teams that Frank McGuire had with John Roach. And I do believe, well, the NCAA was different back then. You actually had to win your tournament to make it. And I think, as well as I remember, Roach was hurt. And then, but no, we've had some good stuff, and we got some good stuff coming. That people just need to back off sometimes and look at everything we've got. And I just want to say, go Gamecocks, and I listen to you guys all day long as I'm in the car, because you do a great job. And I just appreciate everything you do, and I'll let it go with that.
I appreciate the phone call there, Steve. Yes, appreciate what you have in the moment, Patrick. Steve is sticking with the theme of the morning. I like that.
So
appreciate us while you have us.
So George Rogers is the only one in
what's the matter, Jen?
While you have us, are we going somewhere?
Well, you never know.
You had a meeting with the boss yesterday.
That's what I'm saying.
Share?
No, it's Friday. Enjoy your Friday, Jen.
Okay.
Yeah, go into the weekend, enjoy the Friday.
Do I need to be picking up some applications somewhere this weekend?
803-404-6100. Let's go to a man who we all appreciate, Gamecock Larry on the Love Chevy phone lines. Larry, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing just fine. I'll tell you what, Gamecock women, I'll tell you, they number one, and I think Boston, and I can't say which is the best, but they're both outstanding. So, but we're going to win. I think we're going to win the national championship this year in ladies basketball. And old Root Hall just called me, and he done changed his tune. He said, Gamecock Larry. Oh, I'll tell you what, I think old Frank Martin ought to be Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year, Frank Martin. I said, yeah. I said, if we beat Auburn and Alabama, he will be Coach of the Year. I think old Root Hall he getting kind of scared. So Gamecock Larry done told him what he was going to do to him when next time you see him. Run from it, the baseball game. I mean, he didn't even look at me. And he couldn't miss me because I had my wheelchair and a big old oxygen tank. He couldn't miss me. I hollered at him, and I know he can hear because he's a young man. He got hearing, but I ain't got nothing. But we're going to be okay, and I think we're going to sweep the baseball this weekend. And we ought to sweep the softball like we did last weekend. And we're going to win the game in Alabama. And what else? That's about all I got to say. We're going to win the game in Alabama. We're going to win by 7 points in Alabama. I'll call you Monday morning and see if I ain't right. 81-74.
Okay.
Is that right?
It's good math. Very good.
81.
7.
I'm impressed.
Go Gamecocks.
Good hearing from you, Larry. There you go. 81-75. That'd be a lot of points. Would be impressive. We'll talk about that basketball game, what it means. We'll get into some NFL discussion because, Patrick, we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo and where he could end up. People are apparently starting, or I say people, NFL teams are starting to consider Deshaun Watson more thoroughly and making a play for him. We've talked about Aaron Rodgers. We've talked about Tom Brady. There's this Carson Wentz fellow out there who, again, I want to get your opinion on him and where he may fit into the equation of NFL quarterbacks next year. So we'll get into some NFL discussion this morning. Along the way, if you want to weigh in, who knows? Maybe we'll jump into some more liver pudding discussion. You ever eat that liver pudding? No? Okay. Just sitting there. Excellent.
I actually need to very soon, though, because it's going to go bad in like 2 weeks.
We've got all kinds of stuff we may get into on a Friday morning, the final Friday of February. Just walk around saying that again all day. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Patrick Pratt, and Jen Jensen. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
More of the early game coming up on 107.5 The Game.
Oh, I'll tell you what, saving money when you go to make your mortgage payment can be a lot of fun. Trust me. I mean, I was at a concert last night. I know all about fun. But saving money, especially when you make that mortgage payment, that, my good friends, is a lot of fun. And I'm telling you what, the rates right now are still well below pre-pandemic levels. And if you're looking to be a home buyer or if you're looking to refinance, Benji Getsy is the person to call. Give him a phone call this morning, 843-524-2404. Right now, experience matters more than ever. Rates are rising a little bit, but there's still golden opportunities to be had out there. And Benji Getsy and 25 years of experience are ready to help you. 843-524-2404. You can visit him on the web. Buford.mortgage is the way to do that. Benji and his team at Buford Lending were named in the top 1% of producing loan officers in the state of South Carolina and the entire United Wholesale Mortgage Network. And right now, you can take advantage of their knowledge and their experience in the industry. They can help you get a fantastic rate. You can refinance. Maybe you can get some cash back and even put it towards a great summer vacation. Call today to get a free evaluation of your current mortgage rate situation and what Benji Getsy and his team could do for you. 843-524-2404. Again, that's 843-524-2404. If you use Benji and his team, I'm telling you what, you will not be disappointed. 843-524-2404. That's Benji Getsy and Buford Lending.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
Well, we made it to Friday, and knock on wood, so far so good. No accidents to report at this time. Warm and windy today. It's our last day of the nice warm temperatures. 81 today. And then we dropped down to 47 overnight, 64 for the high tomorrow, and we dropped to 55 on Sunday with rain likely. But so we'll enjoy today while we can. 53 right now, 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Kids ages 5 through 11 are eligible for a COVID vaccine. Your future CEOs, artists, innovators, and more are eligible for a vaccine that can help protect their future. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
When you lose your hair, you lose more than just hair. You lose your confidence. But that doesn't have to happen. Today, there are proven medical solutions to stop hair loss, and in some cases, regrow what you've lost. And now you can get them online at 4hims.com, including the very latest treatment, topical finasteride and minoxidil spray. It combines 2 proven hair loss treatments in the only hair loss spray of its kind, and only 4hims.com has it. No more pills, no more messy, time-consuming applications. Topical finasteride and minoxidil spray is only available by prescription, but at 4hims.com, you can connect with a medical provider online who will, if appropriate, prescribe this new spray and ship it to your home. It's that easy. Get the old hair back. Get the old you back at 4hims.com. For a free online consultation, go to 4hims.com/care. Regrow your hair in 3 to 6 months at forhims.com/care. 4hims.com/care. Whoever said the more the merrier sure wasn't in charge of hiring new employees, because the more unqualified candidates you have for a job, the more difficult your hiring can be. And that can make the process, well, not so merry for you. Thankfully, there's ZipRecruiter, which you can try right now for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology finds the right candidates for your job. But unlike other sites, ZipRecruiter goes deeper. ZipRecruiter matches people with people, and you can personally invite your top choices to apply, because the perfect hire is more than a list of qualifications. It's an individual. ZipRecruiter makes hiring the right person easy, and that'll keep you and everyone else very merry.
4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try ZipRecruiter for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's right, free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
I'm Steve Weisman with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. An offense that has become a KC masterpiece will keep the same sauce. Eric Bieniemy is returning as one of the Chiefs' main ingredients. Bieniemy will return on a new one-year deal to remain the team's offensive coordinator, according to NFL Network's Jeff Chadiha. Under his leadership, Kansas City has become the league leader in points, yards, and offensive touchdowns over the past 4 seasons. Elsewhere, Dolphins' new quarterback coach and passing game coordinator Darrell Bevell plans on molding the entire offense around Tua Tagovailoa. Bevell said on Wednesday that he wants to get his quarterback ingrained in the system and bring out all the positives in his game. And some sad news to report. Former longtime Houston Oilers receiver Ken Burrow passed away Thursday at the age of 73. The 2-time Pro Bowler played in Houston for 11 seasons during the Love Ya Blue era and was the last NFL player to wear 00 as a jersey number. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Meet Bob Manetti. In 2016, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Bob participated in a clinical trial that included cutting-edge radiation therapy and surgery. He's been in remission since completion. I'm Keisha Sharp. Since losing my mother to pancreatic cancer, I've been working to share the kind of state-of-the-art work being done by Stand Up to Cancer and Lustgarten Foundation. To learn more about the latest research, including clinical trials, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
That's the sound of a crack in the ceiling found at a home inspection. But with a Realtor by your side, a newfound leak might only cause minor worries. With their expertise, a Realtor can suggest a credit at closing and even connect you to a contractor to help you shore up that leak and alleviate your worries. When it comes to cracks in your plans, the expertise of a Realtor can make all the difference. The difference between an agent and a Realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Waking up each and every day for a sports talk radio show early in the morning, it can be a little difficult. I need a great night of sleep, and that's why I rely on a Sleep Number bed. Bill Gunner for Sleep Number. I put that Sleep Number setting on 45, and I'm ready to go each and every morning along with Jennifer and Patrick to talk sports, but it's all because of a great night of sleep, and you can do the same. You can get proven quality sleep by making the switch to Sleep Number today. I'm telling you what, proven quality sleep, it is indeed life-changing sleep, which starts with Sleep Number adjustability, and it's the final days of the ultimate Sleep Number event. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed plus special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See sleepnumber.com for details. This deal ends Monday, February 28th. So get to a store today. 2 to choose from. One in Irmo on Harbison Boulevard across from Buffalo Wild Wings. The other in Columbia, 2 Notch Road across from Sand Hills Mall. Make the switch to Sleep Number today and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the South Carolina Army National Guard. Aired by the South Carolina Broadcasters Association and this station.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
.634 on a Friday morning. Turn that off there. Welcome in Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. What we started off talking about this morning was South Carolina thumping Texas A&M 89-48. But I think the story out of that, Patrick, was Aaliyah Boston, her 20th consecutive double-double last night. And it just kind of rose the question, or to me, I thought, where do we put Aaliyah Boston in the hierarchy of all-time great athletes, great players at South Carolina? Because what she's doing obviously is not just unprecedented at South Carolina. It's an all-time record. It's 20 straight across the board. And so an incredible accomplishment for her, and kudos. And again, Dawn Staley this week, more so, and I don't want to say that Dawn hasn't been doing it, but more so this week has taken to social media to really promote Aaliyah for National Player of the Year. I haven't paid, I can't say I've paid enough attention to say that it's much of a contest. I know the complaint was that ESPN does not talk about her nearly enough as compared to
it's
maybe.
going to be a contest. We asked Debbie Antonelli that question, and she said it's kind of crazy that Aaliyah's in the conversation. The Iowa player Caitlin Clark, she's in that conversation, but she might not win Big Ten Player of the Year. And Nalissa Smith, I think, is the Baylor player who was going to be the number one pick in the WNBA draft. But she probably won't win Player of the Year and might not even win Big 12 Player of the Year. She went on a long answer about how there's, I guess, just overall parity, but there's a lot of people that are kind of in the conversation. But, I mean, Aaliyah should be, I think South Carolina fans would say, has separated herself.
803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program this morning. Jen back there handling the board and the phone calls. Let's get back out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Joel is up next. Joel, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Doing fine, guys. Love the show. Hey, my input on this is that I don't really, I'm not one who will try to compare two players from two different teams, two different times, because, Asia Wilson had to do a lot of her work by her own, and she didn't finish with 20 doubles like Aaliyah. But Aaliyah is a dominant player who, if you think about it, she was expected to go to Connecticut, and she chose South Carolina. And one reason why she chose South Carolina is because of the program that Asia Wilson helped Dawn Staley build. Asia was the first player that she got that was a big-time recruit that stayed. We had Kelsey Bone come in, but I think she was 1 year and out, one and done. Asia was number one recruit, came in and stayed her whole time, and she really helped build this program. Four players like Aaliyah Boston and Destiny Henderson and all the rest of me here and the rest of them. And that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Appreciate the phone call. Yeah, I
don't know that Asia had to do it by herself.
Didn't have to do it by herself. And Dawn's recruited exceptionally well.
That class,
and I think
Sessions was already there.
Yeah. Elena Coates,
Tiffany
obviously.
Mitchell, Elena Coates in her class, Asia Dozier, Tiffany Mitchell, and then by the end of it, the team was just loaded. By the time that championship team came around,
and I wonder that to Joel's part though, he does make a good point about Aaliyah choosing South Carolina over Connecticut. And look, I mean, Aaliyah's obviously on a team that's loaded with McDonald's All-Americans and five-star recruits. Aaliyah is still a standout among them. She's been I don't want to say a program changer because the program was changed when she came in, but I guess she's been an elite program maintainer. Would that be fair?
Maintainer, because it wasn't weird it wasn't, I guess it was sort of rare, but it wasn't like people weren't coming to South Carolina instead of UConn. Like, the decision to go to South Carolina over UConn wasn't oh my goodness, this is completely unheard of for someone that's not from South Carolina. I mean, we had seen, there were like Ty Harris was from, I want to say, Indiana. Kiki Herbert Harrigan was from Florida, and they were already on that team. So it wasn't completely crazy.
803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program this morning. Again, you can go and hop on the Buford Lending live stream as well. RL asking, did anyone stay to watch the Gary Blair court dedication last night? Dude is a class act. Yeah, that was his final, I guess, home game for Texas A&M. And Michael weighing in on the Buford Lending live stream says, good morning, everybody, and congratulations to Aaliyah Boston. So you got the women's team. Again, Mississippi will be their opponent in Oxford on Sunday. Saturday, Patrick, will be the men's team. The metrics are what we talked a lot about yesterday. We will not go back down that path, but certainly the game against Alabama this weekend, South Carolina will be an underdog. I don't know by how many. It's a game where you pointed out there's two places in the SEC that Frank Martin has never won, Kentucky and Alabama. And this is an Alabama team that has had some incredible moments so far this year. They've been a little up and down at times, but this is a really good basketball team that Nate Oates has been able to build, and they rely on the three-point shot.
That's their game. There was the story that came out that I think he eliminates what does he do? He says it's only paint and three-pointers is basically all that counts. You get 2 points for shots in the paint and 3 points for three-pointers, but only 1 point for mid-range. So that's what they do. They just load it up from three-point land. It's the modern day basketball philosophy. So that means that they can put up crazy numbers in some games when they're really feeling it, and they do have good shooters. It also means they can go cold one night, and they can be had.
Alabama has won 4 of their last 6 games, but those 2 losses came to Kentucky. They lost to Kentucky in Tuscaloosa on a Saturday, February the 5th, 66-55, and then lost again last Saturday, 90-81. And a matter of fact, if you want to go back a little bit further, they're 4-3 in their last 7, but they lost to number 1 Auburn, number 5 Kentucky back on Saturday, February 5th, and then number 4 Kentucky this past Saturday. This is a really good basketball team. And look, if South Carolina wins this game, Patrick, I think you kind of brought it up. You said, well, if they win the game, do we see them show up on the bubble? Like, do we see them show up where Joe Lunardi or some bracketology guys start putting up? I think if they win the game, they don't just go in the bubble. They go in the tournament. They should, in my opinion.
That's what I like to hear.
They should be in there. Now, that's one man's opinion who was at a concert about 6.5 hours ago having a really good time and a slight homer opinion. But the bottom line is you pick up this win here, 9-7 is where they would stand in the SEC. They would probably be there. Right now, they're in a tie for 5th there in the league. This actually would push them into 5th place because they're tied with Alabama for that 5th spot. I would think that if South Carolina is able to win, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now, you're getting the contributions from Cousinard and the other guys, that this would be a win where we'd see them on Sunday morning projected, I guess, at least into the bracket, but I say on the bubble or whatever, but I would think they would be in.
I won't argue because I just don't know. So I like hearing that. So if they take care of business on Saturday and then you come back and beat Missouri, but you lose to Auburn, you think
you're okay. I think you're fine.
But you have to win a game in the SEC tournament.
I think if you beat Alabama, you're
in.
I mean, you'd be the 5th seed.
So it's the biggest game of the year.
I will say this: if you lose in the SEC tournament, it would be an upset. If that makes sense, it would be a bad loss because of who you're going to likely end up playing
in that first game.
In that first game. Because you win this one, you'd have the tiebreaker over Alabama. In a perfect world, you should be able to beat Missouri on a senior night there at Colonial Life Arena, 7:00 game.
If you can beat Alabama, and if they beat Alabama and lose to Missouri, it will be one of the most disappointing losses in the Frank Martin era.
We'll all get a collective hat and throw it. We'll continue talking about that. We'll get in. I want to get Patrick's take. I do want to get into this Carson Wentz stuff because I find that interesting.
It's the most interesting quarterback offseason in a long time.
Carson Wentz he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Actually, he didn't win. I guess he did win the Super Bowl. Nick Foles was the quarterback, but he was the guy that was guiding them there. And then Nick Foles came in and ran, of course, the Philly special as well. But I say all this because Carson Wentz was a top 5 pick. He was a guy that a lot of people loved, and now
could have been the number 1 pick.
And I don't know how bad of a career he's had. You seem to have a hot take you're ready to give on that earlier, so we want to get into that. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Live, local, and free. That's how we do sports. 107.5 The Game. Feel free to call and complain if you wish.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
Remember, we are free of charge, after all.
Yes, it's Friday, the last Friday of February. Means the spring is nearly here. It feels like it's here already. If you want to be active this spring, play some golf, play some tennis, some pickleball, I don't know, whatever it is you play. You're going to want to be healthy. You're going to want to check out Prisma Health Orthopedics. They are the official team physicians for the South Carolina Gamecocks and for the Clemson Tigers. So you know that they will give you the same care that they're given to the best athletes. They are the most comprehensive orthopedic group in the region. They've got 65 specialists, many of which have come on this show and talked, and 6 locations to best serve you. So if hip and knee pain is making your daily life difficult, you need to seek the best care, find out if joint pain is affecting your quality of life, and take a free health assessment. Don't let hip or knee pain hold you back. They've been in business nearly a century and been leaders in innovative procedures and help teach the next generations of orthopedic physicians. They offer a full-service walk-in orthopedic urgent care clinic for all sports injuries, strains, sprains, fractures, and chronic joint pain. They know that hip and knee pain can make your daily life difficult, so just get out there, take that free health assessment, no risk, quick, easy, and free, and find out what they can do for you. They've built a foundation for patient-centered care and innovation, resulting in the best possible service for their patients. So again, get out there, take that free health assessment, and you can learn more by visiting prismahealth.org/orthopedics. One more time, that's prismahealth.org/orthopedics.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. Shepherd's Glass.
Negativity. Gamecock basketball not good on the road. They only beat mediocre.
I was just scrolling through, like, every text message has a spelling error. There's no Sam Frederick. It's Sam Frederick. I was going back.
He went from Sam Frederick to Exam Frederick and then back to Sam Frederick.
I was like, well, I'm not saying you have to be perfect text messaging words because Lord knows I'm not, but
Hey, I would love to see another Never Happened NIT
That's what I'm
champ
saying.
play the NCAA channel basketball.
I was like, is a cat or a dog sending that in?
He spells Carrie's name correctly, and then at the end of the sentence, it spells it again wrong. Here we go. Speaking of Gamecock fans, let's come together to remove Frank Martin. He does not respect those players. He's too hard on them. So this guy doesn't like Frank. Yeah, some of these texts are really dumb. Oh, I see who this guy is.
What?
I see who this guy is. There's one particular.
Oh.
Oh, it's also a guy that said, "Where do cheaters hide their Valentine gifts?"
Oh, yeah. It's it.
Like 5 different times. Yeah, this guy's a moron. He texted in 5 or 6 times.
On October 14th. So that was the Tuesday, I think, after the Tennessee loss. Satterfield is a repeat of Kurt Roper. Then Satterfield is a repeat of Kurt Roper. And then on October 20th, Satterfield is no different from Kurt Rover.
He was just really happy. You can tell a couple times he's just really happy with the text he sent and thinks it's really funny. And we didn't mention it, so he's like, "Hey, in case you guys missed this one, here it is again." I like seeing people that text us and then we don't mention their text, and then I'll see they texted the same thing to Pearson, and then Pearson won't mention it, and then they'll text it to Jay, and Jay won't mention it, and then they'll text it to Heath, and then Heath won't mention it, and they're just like, "Man, it was such a good text. No one acknowledged it."
I had such a good one today.
What? Dude, my script said backslash. I'll just say slash. People get it.
I would like to tell you we're rolling along. I'm basically just trying to survive. Was at the Morgan Wallen concert last night. Had a good time. Really good concert. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton of Morgan Wallen songs. The ones that I did know.
What do you open with? Whiskey glasses?
No, he opened with the boots. Sand in the boots. Sand in his boots. He brought some sand home. There was some sand in the boots or something. I'm not sure. We had a good time, man. We had a really good group that we were with last night and had a blast. Went over to 1801 Grill there beforehand and hung out with some people. Good buddy of mine.
But after I kind of blessed
So
them
you're
out,
not welcome back.
well, yeah, it could be limited on what I can go back on. But you know,
It's good to know that the early game is out there making friends with people. That
the girl in front of me is the one who actually used expletives. I just sort of let them know that I agreed.
you did tell them you were Pearson Fowler though, correct?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Hello.
Just
But
making
no, I
sure.
was hearing most places were like 45 minutes, an hour. Like I said, they were saying an hour and 40. So
No, I wasn't
Or you know
the
people.
first guy. Larry Fleet. I wasn't going to go in for that. Morgan Wallen was not going on stage till 9 o'clock,
right.
and
But this was 5 o'clock.
well. That was the other thing. I wasn't going to start it because I played it well. I did a very adult thing last night. I was actually taking a nap at like 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
I was
So getting
napping.
closer to when the doors open.
I
maybe
was yeah.
was
We didn't
better.
go in. I caught the end of Hardy, and that's why, because the outside the arena cleared out. Everybody went inside at like 6:30.
Mhm.
Doors opened at 6, and it
Yeah,
was
we
a
saw
good.
the lines.
It was a good concert. It was entertaining, and like I said, we were hanging out with a buddy of mine, Brian Flanagan, and his wife Mindy, and we had a blast, and then went into where we were sitting with the guy who owns Charwood, Rock Lucas, who we're good friends with, and he's done a lot for our station and for the golf tournament that we put on. So we had a really good time last night, and it was an interesting concert, that's for sure. It was an interesting, but I would say that I didn't overdo it last night. I'm here this morning, but yeah, I'm tired. I'm ready for the weekend, ready to sit back and enjoy some stuff. And one of the things that Patrick, you kind of mentioned, somebody texted us yesterday and let us know that the production this weekend for the baseball games will be the full-on production. You'll have multiple camera angles.
Good.
That'll get going at 4 o'clock today against George Washington. You can hear that right here on 107.5 The Game, but you can also check it out on the SEC Network Plus. And I think it's supposed to be a pretty nice day, but it's supposed to get into the 60s tomorrow, and then Sunday they're calling for rain. So you might want to keep an eye on the weather in case South Carolina elects to go for a double header tomorrow in the event of rain. But today, Patrick, baseball team 3-1. I still get the feeling that people are shaky on this baseball team after losing the Saturday game and needing the miracle rally, essentially the grand slam in the ninth inning to be able to come back and defeat UNC Greensboro last week.
Just quickly watching the SportsCenter top 10, and I saw a blocked shot, number 4 play. It was a Murray State blocked shot, and I was like, that looks like Trey Hannibal. Trey Hannibal just made the top 10.
Yep.
Reminded me, I almost shed a tear. He's just such a freak athlete. I kind of miss that. I miss his 5-5-5-5 box scores. 5 points, 5 steals, 5 turnovers.
He's been a solid player at Murray State
They're a good
this
team.
year.
Yeah, baseball though. Yeah, I think it's important to get a sweep this weekend. It'll settle some people down. I think you need to go out there, and at least Friday, you kind of expect it, but just go out there and dominate. I mean, Will Sanders, Mark Kingston said it too. It wasn't a dominant performance. It wasn't what he's going to need to win games in the SEC going against other Friday night guys, but it's what you expect from him. Just a solid outing, and that's what he's going to give you most weeks. But you got to go out there and put together Saturday and Sunday performances where the lineup might have to carry a less productive, less successful pitching performance. And you're obviously more talented than George Washington. Just go out there and kick some butt.
Yeah, George Washington swept last weekend by UT Grand Rio. So there's that. We'll talk more about this game. We'll get into some NFL discussion as well. It's 2 more hours of the early game on 107.5 The Game. All right. I don't know if Jen must not have us in program 3. $7 a.m. on a Friday morning, February the 25th, the final Friday of February. We'll get through the weekend. We'll wrap up the month of February, and we will move into March, where the NCAA basketball tournament will get going here in just a few weeks. The final weekend for the women's team, they'll take on Mississippi to wrap up the regular season on Sunday. You can catch the men's team this coming Saturday, tomorrow, 6 o'clock in Tuscaloosa. They've still got another week ahead of them, Patrick. They will have Missouri and Auburn next week before heading to Tampa for the SEC men's tournament. You got some baseball this coming weekend. The baseball team starting this afternoon, 4 o'clock over at Founders Park. Will Sanders will be on the mound. They will take on George Washington. And again, if you heard me, I think I said this correctly in the previous segment. George Washington last week swept by UT Rio Grande Valley. I think I left off some words and some locations in the Rio Grande Valley
And
name.
the Rio Grande Valley is where?
It's $1 million in the valley. I don't know. I have zero.
I was going to guess that it was near San Antonio.
Seems fair. It seems
Not
like
really.
a fair. Yeah, they were in, and George Washington was on the road. George Washington this afternoon will throw Harrison Cohen, a senior right-hander, 0-1 on the season, 3.60 ERA, pitched 5 innings last weekend, struck out 5, walked 3. He'll be the guy that opposes Will Sanders this afternoon. So you can get over
close to Mexico, on the border, basically.
Oh, okay. A little vacation for George Washington last weekend. Now they come to Columbia for a 3-game series this coming weekend. So you've got that going on this weekend that you can get out and check out. We're just a few weeks away from the start of spring practice as well. So you'll have some spring practice starting up March 16th. So we got a lot that will happen in the month of March. But first, we're going to wrap up the month of February and roll along. Again, if you want to be a part of the program, 803-404-6100, how you can join us and weigh in this morning. We've been talking a little bit about last night's basketball game between South Carolina and Texas A&M. The Gamecocks thumping Texas A&M 89-48. The storyline from that more was Aaliyah Boston with her 20th consecutive double-double in that game, 18 points, 10 rebounds. And Patrick, we were just kind of talking about Aaliyah's place, not in women's basketball history, but in South Carolina sports history, because I feel like maybe a little bit she gets underappreciated. And I think even Dawn Staley has kind of taken more notice of that within the last 10 days and kind of stumping for her, lack of a better term, for her to be National Player of the Year.
I'm trying to think of a comparison of like, does Mark Ingram get overshadowed in the history of Alabama because he played right before Derrick Henry? And like, when you're on a team that's just loaded and the number one team every year, and yeah, they've only won one championship, but they almost assuredly would have in 2020, and they were a putback away, a couple inches on a putback away from playing for a national championship last year. And there's just so many great players. Like when you talk about underappreciated, I don't know, is now Zaya Cook underappreciated because she's the second fiddle to one of the best players this school's ever seen, and really women's college basketball has ever seen. So I don't know. Maybe she'll just be overshadowed in history because she just came in the midst of a dominant run, and like Deshaun Watson, like maybe not now because of off the field things, but he's remembered more fondly than Trevor Lawrence, right? Because he started the dynasty.
He was the first. Yeah. I don't know. It's a good question. I think, again, in a lot of ways, my question becomes, where do you put a player? How do you try to enjoy that player while they're being a part of your team or program? It's easy. I think, legends grow as time goes on. The stories, Connor Shaw becomes a better football player. Connor Shaw had a great career, but he becomes a better player with every year that passes. You go back, there's a lot of people. I'm not saying that George Rogers was a bad player, he won the Heisman, but the George Rogers legacy grows with each and every year of people saying, man, I remember when I saw George Rogers. Who was it? We had a caller in the first hour who said he was a man out there. I mean, physically, he was huge. George Rogers in 20 more years will be a 6'5" running back who was 270 pounds and was just trucking people on the way to winning a Heisman and an incredible career. The legends of guys grow as time passes. And Aaliyah Boston, obviously, right now you have a chance to enjoy what she's doing for the women's team there. And again, last night, 18 points, 10 rebounds in a win there. So if you want to weigh in on anything pertaining to South Carolina basketball, whether it's the men's game tomorrow, we'll get into a little bit more of that later. They go to Tuscaloosa tomorrow, 6 p.m. start time. You can catch it here on 107.5 The Game. You can check it out on the SEC network. It'll be a big game for them, and we'll get back into that as to why I think they win. They don't just go on the NCAA bubble. They would find themselves being discussed as in the actual tournament. So we'll get back into that. But I wanted to talk some NFL with you. Again, the storyline that really I started reading as I was paying attention yesterday, and I find this, you mentioned it in passing, and I feel like you almost kind of glossed over it, about this offseason with quarterbacks in the NFL. And, we'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. You were just giddy on Tuesday hoping we would have Aaron Rodgers news for you to discuss Wednesday morning. We didn't get that, but we're still await the news of Aaron Rodgers. Who knows what's going to happen with Russell Wilson? Feels like Seattle's got to make a decision on whether they want to retain him or whether they're ready to start a rebuild and get him out of there. Obviously, we don't know what the Panthers are going to do with Sam Darnold or if they're going to draft a quarterback.
He's going to be on the team.
Well, but I mean, like you said on Wednesday, is he an $18 million backup or is he an $18 million starter that's hoping to get you the number one pick in 2023?
And Matt Ryan is an interesting one too, because I think Arthur Smith wants to stick with him, but there's a couple players in that position, like Jared Goff's kind of in the same position, but just because of the situation they're in is Matt Ryan, if they were to cut or trade him, it would cost $40 million in dead money, meaning it would count against the salary cap, but you can't spend that money. So the Falcons can eat $40 million in dead money, but then be free and clear of salary the following year, or they can pay him $40 million and be mediocre. Like, I kind of think that, and modern, maybe it's just the basketball that does it, but if you're not competing for a championship, what are you really doing? And there's a strong argument to be made, and I kind of believe it, that the quickest path to a championship for the Falcons is through the number one pick. And if the Falcons went ahead and traded Matt Ryan and ate $40 million, it would be the largest dead cap hit in NFL history. They would be better positioned to just go out there and get the number one pick next year or a top 5 pick and get a quarterback that you can have for the next 10 years. But teams get attached to players, and I don't know what a Falcons fan would say, but I think Matt Ryan is among the greatest players in that franchise's history. Maybe some would say he is the greatest player in that franchise's history. But are you willing to just eat $40 million and then say goodbye to really the only, Mike Vick aside, the only great franchise quarterback they've had? That it's just an interesting situation. And the biggest dead cap hit currently in NFL history is who you mentioned, Carson Wentz. the Eagles ate $30 million to trade him. So they counted $30 million against their cap this past season, and he wasn't on the team. And that's how little they cared for
And
him.
what makes that even more interesting is his dead cap number for Indianapolis is $15 million.
Yeah.
They could end up eating $15 million. So,
Well,
all
but
right,
what's his salary?
his cap number in 2022 will be $28.2
So they can
million.
still save $13 million by cutting him.
So the question becomes now, Patrick, with Carson Wentz, throw another quarterback into the heap. Now you got Garoppolo again, who will be looking for a new job. You mentioned Jared Goff is kind of an interesting one. I mean, these are your second tier quarterbacks, right? Like Aaron Rodgers is number one. That's the guy that we're all looking at. I think Russell Wilson is behind him at 2. Deshaun Watson would be right there 1A, 1B if you were more certain about his future. But really, those are kind of the big three: Watson, Wilson, Rodgers. What happens with them? What organization do they end up with? They could change the landscape of the NFL in 2022. Then behind them, you've got a secondary group. Throw Kirk Cousins in there if the Vikings want to continue moving forward with him. Obviously, Carson Wentz. You got Jimmy Garoppolo. Where do you stand on Carson Wentz, and what is his future in the NFL?
Well, it is a very damning sign that he's ready to get traded or cut after a team just traded 2 first-round picks for him. And it was supposed to be the coach that could unlock every bit of potential in him, was the offense coordinator when he had that MVP season in Philadelphia. Near MVP season, he would have been the MVP if he played the entire season, but he tore his ACL very late on. He's a little bit more intriguing. Like if I was thinking about Washington, who we would get, and we struck out on Rodgers, we struck out on Watson, we struck out on Wilson, and then I would say Derek Carr is not in that tier with those three, but he's in a tier by himself that is above Garoppolo, Wentz, and that next set of guys. I would put Matt Ryan in that same category with Derek Carr too. They would be in tier 2. These guys would be in tier 3. Just because what I think Carson Wentz is kind of going to be remembered by is big guy, really good athlete, huge arm, but just you look at him play sometimes, you say, you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? It just makes some of the most head-scratching plays you'll ever see on a football field. And maybe it's just because I think a lot of it has to do with he just will never take a sack, will never let a play die. He'll be getting dragged down, and he'll just huck it up into traffic because he just doesn't like to take sacks. But I think that everybody remembers that one year in Philadelphia, the Super Bowl year, but we're so far removed from that now. I mean, he's almost 30, which is kind of crazy to think about. He's 29 years old.
You know, here's the crazy thing about Wentz. Wentz has only had 2 seasons. He's played in at least 10 games in all 6 of his years. Okay, and this is why I bring up this question, because I feel like you're very down on poor old Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz career numbers: 140 touchdowns, 57 interceptions.
I know his numbers are actually pretty good.
Like this past year, you're dogging my man here. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He played in all 17 games. He had a 62.4 completion percentage, and he threw for just over 3,500 yards.
You got game logs there?
I can get to him here in just a second.
Can you pull up the must-win Week 18 game? One of the worst. I think actually PFF might have said it was the worst game they've ever charted from a quarterback.
Well, I mean, again, the statistical breakdown of it: the January 9th game on the road at Jacksonville. Jacksonville, we all knew stinks.
Must win. All you got to do is beat the team going for the number 1 pick.
He was 17 of 29 for 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But to your point, took 6 sacks.
Yeah,
6 sacks in that game.
Bad. And just missed throws. He's inaccurate. He's got a weird release. I don't know what it is. I mean, I am more intrigued by him because there is upside, and you've seen big time play from him, but he also kind of what Kirk Cousins was known for, just playing really bad in the most important games. Kirk Cousins, it was more about prime time. He would always be bad in prime time. But Carson Wentz, when it was just you'd be feeling good, you'd win a couple games, and people were talking about the Colts as a potential contender, and he would just lay a huge egg, and you're like, okay, well, this is why you'll never win a championship with Carson Wentz. And I don't know how he breaks it. I don't think it's going to happen at this point.
803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program this morning. Again, you can go and hop on that Buford Lending live stream and join in there as well. RL saying it was last year that women's basketball lost the SEC regular season title to Texas A&M on their home court. So it was nice to win the SEC regular season on their court this year. Congrats. We've been talking about the women's team this morning. We'll get back into the men's game against Alabama coming up tomorrow, 6 o'clock, and the importance of that game. We'll look at that Alabama team a little bit and continue to discuss that. Gamecocks and George Washington on the baseball field later this afternoon. So a lot of South Carolina athletics to get into. And again, we'll get back into this NFL discussion because it's interesting. Bun weighing in on the text line, 803-404-6100, says Wentz legacy will be a highlight of that terrible knee injury play and Foles subsequently winning the Super Bowl in his place. That is,
he had a couple. He makes injuries look like they're really bad because he had a play where he hurt his back, and he was hurt for a long time with a back injury where it literally looked like he broke in half and completely broke his back. But
doesn't fall very well.
I think he's long limbed. So the knee stuff always looks really painful, and he's also strong. So when he's getting sacked by the legs, it always looks like his legs are about to snap. I don't know what else it would be about him, but he's kind of like one of those inflatables outside a mattress store that wave in the wind. That's kind of how his body moves.
Okay.
It's strange.
All right, there's that. Good analogy. 803-404-6100. We'll continue on. Talk a little bit about that South Carolina-Alabama basketball game tomorrow and the importance. If South Carolina wins, I think you're not just looking at them on the bubble come Sunday on the tournament projections. I think you're talking about them being in the tournament. We'll talk about that and more. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. The weather is turning. That means it's time to get outside and enjoy your life, whether it's getting out and throwing the football, playing basketball with the kids, maybe kicking the soccer ball around, or just doing backflips in your yard, which I'm sure a bunch of you Jen, you don't just go out in the backyard and do backflips? What's the matter with you?
Well, yeah.
Of course. See, there you go. Be like Jen Jensen. Just on a regular Friday, go out in the backyard, do some backflips, get out there and enjoy life. If you're suffering from constant chronic pain, though, in your joints, well, you're probably not able to be like Jen Jensen, just doing backflips in the yard or cartwheels or whatever it is Jen does whenever she gets to leave this program and get away from me. You need to call QC Kinetics if that joint pain is keeping you from doing that. If you've had aching hips, knees, shoulders, your lower back, call QC Kinetics today. Get the relief that you've been looking for. Right now, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue, and they do it all with no surgery and no drugs. That's right. You heard that correct. You can do it with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. You can get back to living the life you want to live. Call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation, 803-281-6860. Make this spring and summer your best one ever with no joint pain holding you back. 803-281-6860. Again, that's how you can get in touch with the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Give their new therapy a try. It's the new, better, smarter, non-surgical way to deal with joint pain, and they're right here in town. 803-281-6860. That's QC Kinetics.
Was the show worth $270, Bill? Well, you didn't pay that, but if someone did pay $270, do they get their money's worth?
If you paid $270, you better really like Morgan Wallen. And if you really like Morgan Wallen, I think the show was well worth the money.
I think the people that paid $270 probably really liked Morgan Wallen.
I'm hoping.
Who would you pay the most to see right now? If insert performer or band name here came to Colonial Life Arena, who would you spend $270 to see? No one?
McCartney, that was pretty strong. So that might be.
Yeah, I mean, those types of people, like I would say, the Rolling Stones, but there's a level to which you're just seeing them because of who they are and not because they're going to put on a good show. Like Bob Dylan's coming to Township, I think. He's a terrible performer, but he's one of the great musicians of all time.
Well,
and he's 87 or something.
Yeah. And I went and saw Stevie Wonder.
That would be cool.
But that we didn't pay $270 for it, but it was an amazing show because the whole band, and it was a performance and talent, so that was worth it. But do I want to pay $270 for a party? I don't know. That's my $270.
I think,
which isn't worth much.
Well, it's $270 for you to go. $540 if you're going with like that. There's because last night my tickets were $112.75 each. So what I pay $230. No, I think that was including the little handling fee or whatnot. It was the Jim Beam and the beer that was $150 that got me. $112.75. So yeah, $224, $225. So it was worth it. I mean,
I've never really been to a big concert.
It was
Not in an arena.
I was in terms of shows, like in terms of going, man, that was a good show. Like Garth Brooks was the best I've ever seen. He put on a phenomenal, like how that little fat guy runs around with that much energy. I mean, I like that was awesome. I saw him in North Charleston. Thomas Rhett put on a great concert a couple years ago. That's probably one of my favorite I've ever been to. Last night was up there. Like it was up there. I'm trying to think of who else I've seen. I've seen Kane Brown. I've seen Alabama was not good a couple weeks ago. They were just
too old.
This needs to be the final farewell tour. Who else we see? Post Malone wasn't bad. I mean, different kind of music. Post Malone a couple years ago or 2 years ago. Hootie was actually a really good concert.
Supposed to go to Kanye West in 2015, but canceled his show.
Oh, in 2015.
The Pablo tour. For our whole fraternity had bought tickets. We were all pumped.
I saw Hootie in the Horseshoe. That's how long ago I saw him.
Hootie?
Yeah.
There was nostalgia involved in that. Like some of the stuff they did that I think also made it like a great concert. But theirs was a good show, and they had Bare Naked Ladies as the opener.
Yeah. I like Bare Naked Ladies better than Hootie.
Don't think you can say that in this soil.
Yeah,
I'm not from here.
People are throwing stuff at their live stream right now. Thursday night's concert night. Then you take Friday off and a 3-day weekend. Boom. Mark your calendars accordingly. Friday, March 18th, the Windermere Club. It'll be the 107.5 The Game Spring Open. 2-person captain's choice teams doing things a little bit different for the Spring Open. 10 a.m. shotgun start. Patrick Pratt and I will be out there live and on location that morning, so you can even get out to Windermere Club early that morning and hang out with us. We'll have a chair next to us, maybe 2 chairs, who knows. We'll have an extra headset. You can come by. We'll talk sports with you. That'll be actually, Patrick, the first Friday. Oh, there's math occurring in my head now. Yep, first Friday of Ncaa tournament weekend. So we will have had the Thursday night, the first Thursday night slate of games for the Ncaa tournament. So we'll be able to discuss that Friday morning. So some of you can wander in. a little red-eyed from staying up all night long for the opening night of the NCAA tournament. That'll be Friday, March 18th at the Windermere Club, the 107.5 The Game Spring Open. 10 a.m. shotgun start, two-person teams, $200 per team. Again, two-person captain's choice teams. Find a buddy. We'll have raffle prizes closest to the pin, a $1 million hole sponsored by Buford Lending and Benji Getzy. Breakfast, lunch, and if you sign up for the tournament, all entries get a free golf membership at the Windermere Club until March 31st. Can't beat that. Head on over to 1075thegame.com for registration information. Again, it is the 2022 1075 The Game Spring Open, Friday, March 18th at the Windermere Club. A couple of you weighing in. The Carson Wentz thing it really is interesting when you talk about his legacy. Richard weighs in heavily. I think Richard's with you on this. He says Wentz doesn't have a legacy. If he quit today after the season, we'd never talk about him again unless we talk about busts. His career shows you how misleading stats can be if you don't actually watch the games. AC weighs in on the text line and says like this: your week starts next week. You're very fired up for next week because it's NFL Combine week.
Thursday.
And that's good. AC has a great question on the text line. Do you think he moves like a wavy inflatable tube man was part of Wentz's pre-draft analysis? Now, you're the draft analysis guy. Is that what goes down under movements?
Yes. The answer is yes. And I'm trying to think of if there's a wavy inflatable tube man in this year's class. I got to come up with one. There's got to be one in every class. Just guys that move unnaturally and weird.
Okay.
There has to be someone. I'll pull out my board right now.
Yeah. Patrick's got, he just carries around his NFL draft board. If you ever run into him on the streets,
I got the first round picks.
He's got it's a little black book. It's like many of you probably carried in college.
It's almost full
people's names, and his has the
I
NFL
was scrolling
draft
through it because I have to just scroll to the middle to find pages that are blank, and they're just random lists of names. And I always try to go back and think, what was I thinking when I wrote this list of names down, because I write them in random orders. So I actually do have all my position rankings from last year. I wonder how I did.
Yeah, you look at that. John weighs in on the text line. Aaron Rodgers, we were referring to quarterbacks here. He says Aaron Rodgers has become too eccentric and has a lot of baggage. When he first started, he was shy and almost childlike, but a little bit of success makes him go crazy. And I'm a Packers fan.
He has very much baggage.
Yeah,
I mean, off the field, but he's won MVPs 2 years in a row, played at a ridiculously high level, and his teammates all like him.
He doesn't have any baggage
Yeah,
either.
it's true. Doesn't have much of anything.
See, we're sticking on that one, huh?
Like, the baggage is fan related. The fans are tired of him, but
From what though? Because wasn't it? It was a year ago. It was a year ago where Packer fans were siding with him. They were upset with management. They were ready to go and tear down Lambeau because management was messing this thing up. Is it turned that much in 1 year on Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, no. I would, if Aaron Rodgers has baggage, Russell Wilson has baggage because he's also a diva and annoying, but he's just a great player, so it doesn't really matter. I just the weird, the eccentric part, like, who cares? Who cares that he's eccentric?
If he wins your organization a Super Bowl, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
If he comes in and he doesn't, and that's the one thing about Aaron Rodgers right now is we go into this offseason and where he could end up is, Patrick, you talked about it. I don't know if you necessarily say failure because he's had some really good games in NFC championship games, and yet his team has let him down. He's also had some bad games in NFC championship games where he maybe
a couple. He's mostly played well, though.
Well, the crazy part was why I say crazy. The part about it is what we just said. There's been multiple games, multiple NFC championship games, and he's got a Super Bowl appearance.
But he hasn't been on that good of teams either. Like, that's kind of the thing. Like, the Packers team last year was probably the best team he's been on in the last decade or so. He's never really had a good defense, and he's never had that many weapons. I mean, he's done well with Greg Jennings and then obviously Devontae Adams, but I think he's never thrown a touchdown to a first-round wide receiver. That's a pretty crazy stat. They've never decided to build around him on the offense. They've just said Aaron's so good that it doesn't matter who we have out there, they'll win. So if he goes to a team that's actually loaded, I would expect them to be competing for the Super Bowl again. I would love for him to be commanding the Commanders' offense. I don't care how weird he is. I don't care how many enemas he takes or how many times he makes himself throw up. He can do it every day for all I care if he's playing quarterback at an MVP level.
I hope all of you heard that. That is the sound of a fan right there. Whatever he does, I don't care. I don't care what he does. Just win games. That's a man right there who just wants to see the Washington Commanders in the next Super Bowl.
Oh, well, crowdfund. Wait, what is it? You would use a tube?
Let's not go down that path. Of all the
straw?
disgusting things we've discussed in this time, it's that one.
Buy him as many straws as he wants.
Even I'm not even going down that path. 803-404-6100.
Throw touchdowns to Terry McLaurin. That's all I ask. Somebody, please, other than Taylor Heineke.
You can weigh in on Aaron Rodgers or on Carson Wentz if you'd like. South Carolina basketball tomorrow, 6:00 against Alabama. Again, it's a game in which South Carolina's resume is probably a little bit better. We talked a lot about that net ranking and kind of what it means. But when you start to look, Patrick, at a few other metrics here, South Carolina's resume, not bad at all. The strength of schedule is 37th. This is according to ESPN and their power index or whatever they use. The strength of schedule is 37th overall. No, yesterday a lot of the discussion was about the schedule in particular, and Georgetown has not been very good. Florida State hasn't been as good as you thought they would be. Again, typically you schedule Florida State, you're thinking, oh, we're playing one of the top 4 teams in the ACC. We're playing a top 20 overall team, and unfortunately, it's just a year where Florida State has not been up to their usual standards. Clemson, again, has a losing record as of now and has not been a team that really has been able to help you in terms of strength of schedule. But these are games that you typically at the beginning of the year would say, all right, Georgetown, Florida State, Clemson.
There's a lot of things that aren't South Carolina's fault.
But the Gamecocks with 2 quad 1 victories, 4 quad 2 victories. And Patrick, you get an Alabama team tomorrow who right now, by most projections, is in the NCAA tournament. Alabama's really been very good over the last half of the season here. They beat, I think it was number 4 Baylor at the time. I think Baylor might have been number 1 when they beat them. The rankings, you know how that kind of can all work its way out. But they beat Baylor in Tuscaloosa as part of the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Their 3 losses over the last 7 games have come to number 1 Auburn by 19. They also lost to Kentucky twice. This is a good Alabama team. This would, without a doubt, be the best win on in South Carolina season, and I think would propel them not just onto the bubble, but it would have most. I think it would have most people projecting them into the NCAA tournament.
What did Alabama do against LSU? 70-67. And LSU was number 13 at the time. I mean, yes, it would be the best win on the schedule. I think it would be closer to LSU than people think. But yeah, Alabama's a really good team, and it is tough that they're playing at home because South Carolina is not as good on the road. And when you're a team that relies on the 3-point shot, I just naturally think that if you're on your home court, you're going to shoot a lot better. So, Jaden Shackelford, Keon Ellis, Quinterly, the names that we've seen in the SEC for a couple years now, experienced players that can all light it up. This Alabama team hasn't changed too much in the last couple years. I mean, who they lose 2 years ago? I think they had Colin Sexton in the mix, and then last year they had another draft pick last year. Do you remember who they had last year? They had a first-round pick last year, didn't they?
Herb. I said that with so much confidence. Even I heard my voice quivering.
It was Herb. And he played South Carolina with like a broken hand.
Yeah, he was there for about 22 years.
It's not Herb Brooks because that was the coach of the USA Olympic team, 1980. I would really love to get this without looking it up.
And it wasn't Herbert Lee Davis, who I keep wanting to get. That was a former South Carolina player. Come on, you got to hurry because I'm going to have it here in front of me here. And he was a mid-round pick, I thought.
I don't think I have it.
Maybe he was not a mid-round pick.
No, I don't. He was an experienced player. I thought they had someone else.
Here we go. Pelicans drafted him, 35th in the second round. It's an easy name. Come on.
I know it's an easy name. That's what I was thinking.
There's a commercial about a bunch of these last names, recent running. It's a car commercial on television.
Oh, Herb Jones.
There you go. Good job, buddy.
Jones.
Way to go. That's what we do. We help each other around here.
So that's what they're missing. That's what they're missing this year. They're just a Herb Jones away from being the best team in the conference.
803-404-6100 is thank you, Richard, weighing in. Herbert Jones. Let's see how many of you got this year. How many games? I'm 6. Or how many games did we lose shorthanded players? The Clemson game, South Carolina was missing a lot of players in that game. I'll go back and read that list as well. Dan and Dalzell, Dan Also saying that Bama has wins against Gonzaga and Houston. They've got some really, really good wins this year. This is a good Alabama team, and that's why I say that if you can win this thing on Saturday, tomorrow against Alabama, it not just propels you onto the bubble. I think it puts you at least in the projections to be in the NCAA tournament. We'll continue talking about that. We got a question from Marshall. I'll get a follow-up on the Panthers regarding Christian McCaffrey. We'll get your take on that, and we'll roll along. It is the Friday morning episode of the early game. Bill Gunner, Patrick Pratt, and Jen Jensen here on 107.5 The Game. Tell you what, you talk about knowledge. You heard us just trying to figure out the Herb Jones name for Alabama. Yeah, sometimes we're knowledgeable and sometimes it's just a shot in the dark. That's good for sports talk radio. Not good if you're looking to purchase a car and you want to get the best insight, the best knowledge on what car can help you, what car or vehicle, truck, whatever it may be, can take care of your everyday needs. That's why I trust the people at Love Chevrolet. You won't find a more knowledgeable sales staff anywhere in the state. That much I can guarantee. Love Chevrolet's been open for over 60 years, and several of their salespeople haven't been there for 60 years. That'd be insane. But they've been there for over 20. One, because Love Chevrolet is a family-run business that takes care of not just their customers, but they take care of their employees as well. And those employees, they take care of you by making sure that you know what you're purchasing, how it can help you, how it can get you through your everyday life. And that's why Love Chevrolet, not only with the $1,000 low price guarantee, the best deals in the business, not only the largest selection of vehicles anywhere in the Midlands, but that's why they are the best in the business, is because of the great customer service, the great sales staff, the great people there that make Love Chevrolet run. Go find out for yourself. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can also visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. Again, largest selection, best deals in town, but most importantly, an incredible customer service and sales department that's ready to help you the second you come onto the lot until the second you leave with that brand new vehicle. Go visit Love Chevrolet in Harbison, I-26 between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads. Yeah, I actually coached with old Herbert Lee. Herbert Lee was when the really good South Carolina teams in the 90s. I remember him. That's easy to, that's how I can remember him. RL, I don't think you're the only one that's been missing concerts. The concerts took a break there for a little while, but hopefully Colonial Life Arena will continue to get some good ones. I might try and get out to Vegas in May to see Eric Church at T-Mobile Arena. I think that might be the 40th birthday gift to myself, is to get out to Vegas and catch Eric Church. Eric Church is on my list of people I need to see. I bet Eric Church would put on it. I just feel like I've heard a lot of good things about his concerts. I'd like to see Eric Church in either Vegas or Nashville. Patrick, I think going to Nashville for a concert is rising on my bucket list, whether it's at the Titans Stadium or at Bridgestone. I think that's
I want to go to both of those, but they have a lot of really cool venues. They've got a really cool amphitheater, like right by the Cumberland River. That's really cool, and they're building up some really new, cool, smaller venues. I want to go to like a big show at a small venue. That's why I think the greatest concert is Adele in Caesars. That would be insane. That would be ridiculous.
That didn't work out, right? She canceled that.
She postponed it.
Gotcha.
It's going to probably happen this summer.
What concert tickets, Craig? Where'd you get? That's pretty cool. Plays golf with Church, Eric Church. Wonder what concert. We all wait patiently to see what concert tickets Craig got. Hope, I'm with you. They can only control what they can control. And that control means winning a game tomorrow. How big of an underdog do you think they'll be? 8, 9? Do you think it'll be double digits?
I don't think it'll be double digits because South Carolina's trending way up.
Okay, I don't. That sounds like you're just going to a show. It's like David Nail at the amphitheater in Lexington coming up. Got it. Sounds like just a date night. What happened? Formula One canceled their season.
No. They just said as of now the Russian Grand Prix is not going to happen.
Oh, that would make a lot of sense. Actually.
Yeah, no, that's toast.
Oh,
I did spend a large portion of time, like probably 20 minutes, just reading the replies of sports tweets yesterday, and there's just all sorts of people that are like, really? Everything that's going on in the world, this is what you're tweeting about?
Sports tweets?
Yeah. Like I saw John Rothstein, Mike Florio, all these different sports accounts like tweeting, just doing their jobs. And people would be like, really, read the room. You're talking about Aaron Rodgers when this is going on. It's like, people are just doing their jobs.
Is the World Cup in Russia? I don't think there was some kind of championship game. They moved from St. Petersburg to Paris. I did see that.
Did you see the Applebee's commercial yesterday?
No.
Yeah, that was an oops.
That was an oops.
What was the
I'll show
Applebee's
you,
commercial?
I'll show you the video.
Just probably the wrong time to pop a commercial in.
Well, I highly doubt that like they sent it over yesterday morning, and like I'm pretty sure it didn't debut yesterday, did it?
What, the commercial?
Yeah.
No.
What'd they say? Go to
I mean,
No,
it's just a video of the air raid sirens going off, but they go cold to the commercial, and it goes from the loud sirens to and a little bit of chicken fried and an Applebee's commercial with like the dancing viral videos, the TikToks and everything like that. It was just a very bad look. Yeah. Very bad timing indeed, Anthony.
You can't win them all.
No,
Thank you,
mistakes
RL. Yeah, that was
happen.
it. The Champions League final. We will actually be in Augusta all weekend. Well, not all weekend, all day Saturday for Austin soccer games. I've gotten into getting up on Saturday morning since there's no football and watching soccer. I'm learning. $7:42 on a Friday morning, February 25th. We've been talking a lot about, obviously, the women knocking off Texas A&M last night, 89-48. Aaliyah Boston with her 20th consecutive double. So kudos to her for doing that. We've been talking about South Carolina and Alabama tomorrow over in Tuscaloosa. It's Alabama. This is a winnable basketball game, Patrick, but during the break on the Buford Lending live stream, I was talking about it. South Carolina will be an underdog. I estimated it could be close to double digits. You don't think there'll be a double-digit underdog tomorrow, although I would not be surprised at all if that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I wouldn't be stunned, but I do feel like it's not just us that are taking notice of the run South Carolina's on. I do feel like Vegas is going to kind of factor that in because I think the heavy money would come in on South Carolina if it's over double digits.
Possibly. I don't know how how South Carolina really matches up well with Alabama, the length of Alabama, the way they like to shoot the ball. Although South Carolina, look, they're coming off a game against Mississippi State in which they did not allow Mississippi State to hit a three-pointer. It was the second time this year that the Gamecocks have done that. They also held Arkansas without a three-pointer. However, that game went entirely different. The last time these two met was last year in Tuscaloosa, February 9th. Alabama won by 3, 81-78 last year. South Carolina, just quite frankly, not very good over in Tuscaloosa. That was a kind of a crazy stat that you gave or that you've given for about 2 days now as it pertains to Frank Martin not being able to get a win in Tuscaloosa. The last time South Carolina won in Tuscaloosa, Patrick, you want to take a guess? The last time South Carolina won against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And I was there for this game.
Were you in college?
No. I was working with thebigspur.com. I was covering the game.
2004.
2008. Well, it was the 2008-2009 season. Valentine's Day. Could be part of the reason I'm divorced is because I was in Tuscaloosa on Valentine's Day covering
It's
a
the
basketball
city of
game.
love.
Yeah. February 14th. I'm just realizing that. I'm like, why did I go cover a basketball game in Tuscaloosa on February 14th? That seems like poor planning. But South Carolina won 75-73 that day. Mike Holmes had a tip in at the buzzer. I remember that. Dominique Archie, another blast from the past, actually missed a shot there late. Devin Downey was fantastic. 18 points that day. Dominique Archie had 15. Here's another name for you older folk like me. Brandis Rayleigh Ross had 13 in that ball game. Alonzo Gee. Can you remember that name? Do you remember that? Does that name ring a bell with you?
Alonzo what?
Gee.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in that game. 18 points for Bama. That was a Darren Horn-led South Carolina team. Again, the last time South Carolina won in Tuscaloosa, Valentine's Day 2009. Prior to that, Patrick, you want to take a ballpark guess of the other time? South Carolina's got 2 wins in their entire time in Alabama. You want to take another guess as to the time prior to that?
Gotta be in the 90s.
Very good.
98.
Close. 1997, January 22nd.
Over 10 years between wins and now we're going on 12.
62-60. So the Gamecocks' only 2 victories in Tuscaloosa have come by the score or have come by a total of 4 points. 2 points in 1997, 2 points in 2009. Of course, there was that famous game back in 1931 in which Alabama won 45-11.
Legendary game.
It was
defensive performance by the Crimson Tide that day.
Still
gets talked about.
It's a tough shooting performance that time. Yeah, Day weighs in. Is the last time when Mike Holmes tipped in a missed one in 2009. That is correct. You were all over it. So we'll continue to talk about this game and more, get back into some college baseball. South Carolina hosting George Washington this coming weekend. And I do want to get into this question Marshall posed to Patrick earlier on the Carolina Panthers and how they keep Christian McCaffrey, but don't kill him in the process.
He's already dead.
There we go. No, we answered that. We'll come back.
He's not.
We'll let him break that down more. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. It's the weekend, time to party, get down, enjoy some just some downtime, or again, maybe do whatever it is you do on the weekends. But one thing you don't want to do is clean your house. And that takes up time. It's the kids, they turn around. The kids probably follow you around. And as soon as you clean something up, they make more of a mess. Just go to Zero Res. Call Zero Res. They will take care of it and make your home look spotless with their patented ZR water technology. And you know what? If you call Zero Res today, 803-262-4020, and you mention me, Bill Gunner, and 107.5 The Game, you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a free hallway. 803-262-4020. You can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. I'm telling you what, that ZR water technology, it is the MVP of my household. The way they're able to come and keep my rugs, my tile, my upholstery insanely clean. Again, no sticky, soapy residue. The ZR water keeps my carpets clean like no other. Call Zero Res today, 803-262-4020. Again, right now, mention me, Bill Gunner, and 107.5 The Game. You'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a free hallway. So don't wait any longer. Call Zero Res today, 803-262-4020, or book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Spell it backwards or forwards, Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
The Gamecocks have taken control of the SEC regular season title all to themselves as they win on the road at Texas A&M, 89-48.
Final call last night from Brad Mueller on 107.5 The Game. Here is South Carolina wraps up another regular season SEC championship. Aaliyah Boston with another solid night in the 89-48 victory, 18 points, 10 rebounds. Destiny Henderson with 17 points last night, and Zia Cook adding in 11 as South Carolina just absolutely smashes Texas A&M 89-48. Not only does South Carolina win the regular season SEC championship, but again, Aaliyah Boston, Patrick, we've talked a lot about her this morning. A record 20th consecutive double-double for her. Pretty impressive for Aaliyah Boston in a league that has seen a lot of impressive young women come through.
Yeah, it's impressive that we expect it. If you ever get to the point where you expect a double-double from someone, they're a very good player. If you're surprised that they don't get a double-double, I am curious if now that she's got the record, they'll just play her 10 minutes against Ole Miss and call it a day and say, all right, just make sure you're healthy and rested.
Keep going. You got a whole week to get rested leading up to the SEC tournament in Nashville next week. We'll continue on. Chris Deering up next for the Corley Pool High School highlights of the week. It's playoff time across the state in basketball. We'll get his take on the games that are taking place as we count down the state championship weekend. It's the early game. 107.5 The Game. Honestly, landing the number one recruit is actually bigger than going to the Final Four gets kind of lost. Like I'll be honest, how many of y'all can name just from 2 years ago? Let's go 2 years ago was the COVID years. That's why you couldn't name anybody. Like, can you name all 4 teams in the Final Four last year? Can you name all 4 teams in the Final Four 3 years ago? So you didn't have a tournament in 2020. How many of you right now, without looking it up, could name all 4 teams in the Final Four?
No, but it's a bigger deal when it's a team that has never been there before, or like a lower level team or a mid-major team, especially. Like you'll never forget that George Mason went to a Final Four.
Yeah, but that's a much lower level team. Like, can you?
I mean, I'll never forget. I don't know who's on.
Like,
I don't know who would be considered on the same level.
Auburn's really good right now. Can you name the last time Auburn was in the Final Four?
Auburn was in the Final Four before the COVID year, where they had that. Who was in that backcourt?
Yeah, they were. I was seeing if I could trip you on that one because, like, that's a good example.
Who are those 2 guards? They're both little guys, and they both shot
Sharif Cooper and
no, Sharif Cooper was last year.
Was he? I thought he was 2 years ago. I thought he was a sophomore.
He wasn't on the Final Four team.
But yeah, I was trying to stump you on that. Can you name the other? You had Auburn.
In 2019.
You had Auburn. You had Virginia, who won it.
Yeah, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech was who they beat. Can you name the 4th team?
I don't think I can name the 4th team. I don't think I can name the 4th team. It was for Auburn, though. The names I'm looking for. Not this season. Are Jared Harper and Bryce Brown. Those were the names I was looking for.
Bryce Brown. Yeah,
Jared Harper.
So can you name the 4th team in that Final Four? It's actually a really well-known team. They go a good bit. It was their 10th appearance.
It wasn't Duke or Carolina.
No.
Was it Kansas? Michigan State?
Yep.
Okay, so Virginia, Texas Tech, Michigan State, Auburn. Last year should be easy.
Last year should be easy.
Yeah. Because you had one of the all-time
say
games.
for you and me, you like
Yeah.
I follow it, and so yes.
I mean, maybe you forget Houston, but you know the national champion, and you know that Baylor or that UCLA and Gonzaga played one of the greatest games of college basketball.
I don't know if
history.
people would remember that because it was Gonzaga, because it was for us,
because of the buzzer beater.
but because it. We back.
Yeah.
Final hour of the final Friday in February of 2022. Enjoy it. Next Friday, it'll be the first Friday of March of 2022.
What's the last day of March? Or the last day of February? Is it Monday?
Monday, 28th. Yes, sir. Very good.
Fat Tuesday coming up.
I don't. You've got family in New Orleans. You're a little bit more familiar with that. But I was told I'm not. I've never been to Mardi Gras. I've never really done all that stuff, and so I'm not really familiar with the dates. But somebody told me this past Tuesday was Fat Tuesday.
They
were incorrect.
They were incorrect.
They were just trying to get me to eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's good to know that I have friends that
This
just
is
try.
this is the big weekend coming up in New Orleans.
This is the big weekend.
Yeah.
Not Mardi Gras.
Well, Mardi Gras is the biggest day, but the weekend leading up to Mardi Gras is huge. They got all the Super Crew parades coming up. Bacchus and Demian, those are the two monsters, and then Tuesday's Rex.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Those are the names of the parades.
There we go.
But they started a couple weeks ago, and they basically just get bigger and bigger and bigger up until you get to final weekend and then Mardi Gras.
We always do this. I always do this bucket list items. Is Mardi Gras a bucket in New Orleans?
Should be. I mean,
is it a bucket list item?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Where you have to go. I feel like it's almost such from what I've always read or heard, it's such an insane time that I'm not sure it's just because of the parades and
there's family friendly ways to do it because
Oh, really?
I went as a kid. I don't know how many Mardi Gras I've been to. I've been to a handful, but I went as a kid and we have so much family there. My aunt was able to take us to parts of the parade. Like you can check the whole route and there's more low key parades and there's more low key routes. So we were in family friendly stretches of the parades. But if you're going out to the French Quarter to the Midtown parades and you want to be rowdy, then you can certainly do that. But it doesn't have to be like that. Just you can do Mardi Gras without being on Bourbon Street. It's very doable.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we will continue talking about that. Chris Deering coming up here in just a moment as we will catch up the semifinals, the lower and upper state semifinals taking place across the state this weekend and state championships next weekend across the state. So we will catch up with Chris Deering here in just a few minutes to get his take on all the levels across the state. The other things we've been talking about this morning, again, you heard the call there a few minutes ago. South Carolina knocking off Texas A&M last night, 89-48, and South Carolina basketball taking on Alabama tomorrow in Tuscaloosa. The other thing, 4:00 today, Patrick, we've talked a little bit about baseball, but I think you're right. From a momentum standpoint, I don't want to say South Carolina's kind of on shaky ground, but when you get the performances that South Carolina got last weekend where you lose the Saturday game and then you got to have the big rally on Sunday to win the series, you need another good performance. They go out and they get the 7-1 victory on Tuesday, but tonight you need Will Sanders to have a good performance, and Michael Braswell signing yesterday. Did you see the sports agency, I guess, for name, image, likeness, who he signed with yesterday?
No. Who is it?
That would be one Jay-Z's company, Rock Nation.
Nice.
So,
Signed to Rock Nation.
But yeah, you need South Carolina to have a solid performance.
Yeah, and they're going to do it on Friday. I mean, I guess you don't know anything, but you expect it on Friday. It's really going to be Saturday and Sunday that you need to play well, because that's what people are going to be worried about. You're confident in Will Sanders, but if you're saying what's the biggest concern, I would think that, it's going to be pitching. I don't know whether people are more concerned about starting pitching or the bullpen, but Saturday and Sunday is where you're going to need good outings. Josiah Seitler, I assume, will probably go Sunday again. I don't know if they're going to keep the exact same 1, 2, 3, but James Hicks did not have a good Saturday. James had a good couple innings and then got taken to town later. So, yeah, just have the lineup score a bunch of runs. I don't know, obviously, anything about George Washington, but the fact that they did get swept by a team that's also a mid-major team. I don't know. Maybe UT Rio Grande is.
We know nothing about them.
But
yes,
they didn't get swept by Texas, is what the point is. So you should be able to go out there and hopefully dominate.
And to that point, real quick, and we'll talk more about this baseball series this weekend, because Patrick, next weekend, the big rivalry series.
Oh yeah,
Clemson rolls into Columbia.
Need some confidence going into that.
Clemson rolls in on Friday night. They're over at Segra Park on Saturday, up in Clemson on Sunday. And then the following weekend, the number one team in the nation, the current number one team, Texas, rolls into town. So we'll talk more baseball coming up here later this hour. We'll also get into some Carolina Panthers discussion, as a couple of you asking questions about the Panthers, and Day weighing in with an interesting scenario. You talked about how bad the Panthers are and the situation they are in. We'll talk about it in the next segment. Should they trade Christian McCaffrey? Just get what they can? Don't answer. Don't answer. You're ready. I know you. You're over there. You're fired. He is an NFL man. Let's get out to a high school guy, though, a guy who covers the playoffs, covers the sport like no one else. You can check out his work on Prep Red Zone. They do a fantastic job. You can follow Chris Deering at cdeering82. Last week, he was in the mountains. This week, you still on vacation, Chris, or are you back and having to actually work hard this week?
I'm actually back and having to work hard this week. It was nice to get away, but busy time of year right now, and glad to be back in the mix of it.
Well, let's get into it. There is a bunch of semifinal games taking place over the next 2 nights. Let's start in 5A, and on the boys' side, there was an upset last week. Malden knocking off Thomas Ryan and Dorman. Dorman has become a massive power. What is it, 4? Was it 5 straight? Am I right on this? Was it 5 straight championship appearances, 4 straight championships before Ben Lee and River Bluff got him last year?
That is correct. Yeah, they have been in every Class 5A championship we've had until this year. And Malden was able to knock them off last week. And, you say it was an upset, but it might not have been. That Malden team's really good. They have faced Ridgeview now in the upper state final tomorrow, actually, up at Bob Jones University. And Malden, it might be better than people are giving them credit for. They've been sort of under the radar most of the year, but I like this Ridgeview team. We've talked about them many times this year. Gigi Jackson, they're playing really well. They're getting really good guard play from Xavier Moultrie and Bryce Cohen. So I like this Ridgeview team, but they got a tough test in Malden tomorrow afternoon.
Down in Florence, you've got my former junior varsity coach and, of course, Lexington's great Brett Jones, who's now leading Dutch Fork. They'll take on Fort Dorchester tomorrow at Florence.
Yeah, I sort of talked all year about that region with Dutch Fork and Lexington and River Bluff, that I thought one of the teams there could make a run, and Dutch Fork has been that team. They won the region. They're playing a Fort Dorchester team that's really athletic. They've only lost once this year. Lexington did take them to the wire in the last game. I think it was 47-45. Fort Dorchester pulled out a win. So really, I expect sort of that same type of game, score in the probably 40s, lower 50s. Really good defense. And, Brett Jones is a great coach, and he's got his team in this position for the 3rd year in a row in the semifinals. And that's a pretty good testament to what he's done over at Dutch Fork. They really have not had that type of success in basketball until Brett got there. And so good to see them representing the Midlands here in another lower state championship game.
On the girls side, no Midlands teams, Malden and Rock Hill in the upstate, Sumter and Somerville in the lower state. But just real quick, your thoughts on those games.
I think Rock Hill has been the team to beat all season on the 5A girls side. They're really deep. They're really talented. Sumter played Lexington in the last round, the quarterfinals, and pulled out a very close win. I don't know much about Somerville or Malden on that side, but I sort of expect maybe we might see a Rock Hill Sumter final next weekend in the state championships.
Let's go to 4A boys there. And I don't have an update last night, so maybe you can provide it as I look at the South Carolina High School League schedule here. I see Irmo was playing Travelers Rest last night, and also there is not an update on another game that should be in there for whoever plays Wilson. But give me the update last night. Travelers Rest at Irmo, and the winner of that gets AC Flora next week.
Yeah. So Irma won that game. I know you were out partying at the concert last night, so I hope that was good. Irma pulled off another win. Tim Whipple's in another state semifinal. They did it without one of their all-state players. Juice Keat was out last night. It was really unknown if he would be able to make it back if Irma wins. When do they play? They play AC Flora on Tuesday. Actually.
Yep.
So sort of spread out here over the lower state and upper state finals. So don't know if he'll be back on that one, but this team, they've dealt with some injuries all year. They've missed some guys all season, but Dylan Williams is a great point guard. Brandon Crawford, the big guy in the middle. I like this team, but I'll tell you, they split with AC Flora in the regular season. This is the third meeting, and this could be a tough road to beat that AC Flora team without Juice Keat. AC Flora last night went on the road to South Point, the defending 4A champ, and got a shot at the buzzer. They missed a long three-pointer with the score tied, and CP Parker got the rebound and put it back in to give them a 2-point win. So big win for AC Flora, and I like that team too. That's two good teams that will represent the Midlands well. I've said it all year. We looking at the boys side of things, we got teams in Class 2A, 3A, 4A, and 5A finals, and a good chance to get teams to play for a state championship next weekend. So I like this game. That's gonna be. I will probably go to Greenville on Tuesday to watch that one. So that's a big time game, and it will be a big time atmosphere, I'm sure.
4A girls has West Side and Catawba Ridge, South Florence, and North Augusta. So not really local teams there. So let's go on down 3A boys. And there's, again, we mentioned Brett Jones. We've talked about Tim Whipple. And here's another familiar name, Zach Norris and Keenan. They will take on Blue Ridge on Monday night at 7:30. Keenan with another appearance in a semifinal.
Yeah, I tweeted the South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association released their poll last week, their final poll of the regular season, and Keenan wasn't ranked, and I didn't understand that. I didn't understand it all season long. I know they got 10 or 11 losses, but if you look at the schedule they played, Zach Norris is not back down from anybody. He's played great teams from December all the way through now, and if you look at his teams historically, they get better as the season goes. And this is exactly what this team has done. He's got some all-state players in Christian Ori and some RG Eccles in the middle. I like this team. Olin Knox, he's transferred over from Blythewood, I think it was. I like this team too. They can play defense. They can hold you down. I think they limited. I can't remember who they played in the quarterfinals, but they held them to 30-something points. And that's just a staple of Zach Norris. He does it year in and year out. I think he's won 7 state championships since he's been at Keenan. And the fact that he was under the radar this year is just unbelievable to me. I said all season long, I said it here on this show, I thought this team had a chance to go a long ways, and he's one step from playing for another state championship.
3A girls will, real quick, 3A boys also to Monday night, OW will take on Oceanside there, and we'll see if we get a Keenan OW state championship game. 3A girls, Chris, it looks like we are heading for a look. I'm pulling for everybody here. Don't get me wrong, but I love seeing the local teams, especially if we can get like a Ridgeview, Dutch Fork 5A championship game. Not only Brett Jones, but also having Gigi Jackson play for a state championship would be really cool. Well, in 3A girls, it looks like two teams that you've talked about a lot: Keenan and Camden. Keenan's got to get by Southside on Monday night. Camden's got to get by Bishop England, but it looks like hopefully we're heading for that showdown in the state championship.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have looked at that 3A bracket and thought that all season long. Keenan was on the ropes last night, Bill. They were losing in the fourth quarter. But from what I understand, Malaysia Fulwiley just took over that game at the end and propelled this team to another state championship. Upper state championship. So this will be their, I want to say, so she's a junior. This is their 5th straight season playing in this upper state championship game because she's not been eliminated in the playoffs earlier than this. So just another chance for them to go for another title. Reggie McLean's done it year in and year out over at Keenan as well. He maybe get a little overshadowed by what Zach Norris does on the boys' side, but Reggie's one of the great coaches in the area. And then Joyce Edwards with Camden, she came out last night. They dominated, won by 20-something points. And I think, again, I would be surprised if the state championship is not Keenan and Camden in next weekend.
2A boys, I don't have an updated score from last night. Abbeville and Gray Collegiate, the winner of that one, who I'm sure you'll tell me plays Andrew Jackson on Monday. The South Carolina High School League schedule says Monday at 2:00. That would seem odd to play in the middle of the day.
That actually is correct, Bill. The lower state is spread out over 3 days this year. Usually it's over 2 days. So they're playing Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday. And you got to get in 10 games total. So there's 4 Saturday, 4 on Monday, and then 2 on Tuesday. So there are a couple of 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock games on Monday afternoon for people to get out and enjoy. Yeah, I understand that's not maybe the best scheduling, but from what I understand, other states do it and it works well there. So I'm sure people will get out and support these guys. But talking about that 2A, Gray Collegiate did win last night, so they will play Andrew Jackson. Another team that's been there. They didn't get the state championship last year, but they had won the previous 3. And Gray Collegiate, Deion Bethea, he just seems to reload every single season. He's got some great senior leadership in Torrey Kelly, Calvin Hall. Calvin Hall is one of those kids that I think's been playing high school basketball now for about 8 years. I've been hearing Calvin Hall's name for a long time. But Gray Collegiate is going for another chance to play in a state final. And, on the other side, we talked about York Prep a little bit. They're actually nationally ranked now. Larry Davis is the coach. He's got his 2 sons playing on that team. So I was sort of thinking that when we're heading for a Gray York Prep final.
2A girls has the upper state will be Christchurch versus Landrum, lower state Silver Bluff versus Andrew Jackson. So not really any local teams there for us to highlight. Let's bounce real quick down to the 1A boys bracket there. It looks like Great Falls and Calhoun County. That's I've grown up with feeling like that's a historical matchup. Great Falls ran by the great John Smith, who was coaching when I was playing and got to know him after my time at Lexington. And Calhoun County, of course, long time. Zam Frederick is not still there. Is that I haven't even thought about this.
Zam is still there.
He is still there.
John Smith is not there any longer.
Right.
Zam is, yeah. So, but yeah, you think Class A basketball, that's got to be the first 2 teams to come to your mind. I'm willing to bet I don't have the record book right in front of me, but if you look at the record book, they probably got over 20 state championships among those 2 schools right there.
Yeah, should be. That's a again, I'd said historical, and I don't know another way to put it, but Calhoun County, Zam Frederick. I remember going out there and watching both Alshon and Shamir Jeffrey, and I've been to that school multiple times. And Great Falls, home of the great Torrey Wright, who is not Torrey Wright? What's Torrey Craig, who's gone on to a great NBA career. So that should be a really good one there on Monday. Class A girls, High Point Academy versus Denmark Olar, and Lakeview versus Military Magnet Academy. Chris, any other high school basketball that we've missed here as we've tried to cover all of it?
We got the Ncaa championships in the Sumter Civic Center this weekend, but Cardinal Newman is still playing for a state championship. You know, they have Ashlyn Watkins, the girl that's committed to South Carolina. She's been a force. From what I understand, they played their semifinal game with only 6 players, with some people out. So Cardinal Newman girls will be going for a state championship tomorrow as well. So good luck to them. And I unfortunately, I don't have the rest of the Ncaa schedule right here in front of me.
Real quick, let's some football news that we wanted to get to locally. Corey Jenkins, we should all remember that name, is going to take over his alma mater at Dreer. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's yesterday. Two different schools named coaches. Corey Jenkins at Dreer, and Andre Cook, who moved over from River Bluff, where he was defensive coordinator. He's taken over Airport, but Corey Jenkins was at South Carolina. He's been at South Carolina State, I think, the last couple of seasons. He's been an assistant at Cardinal Newman. So he's going back home. He played at Dreer. I mean, to show you how long I've been around, Bill, I covered Corey Jenkins in baseball and football when he was at Dreer, and that was back in the 90s. I don't have the dates right here in front of me, but know Corey pretty well. I wish him the best, and that's going to be a interesting scene with AC Florence and Dreer getting new coaches this year. So Dreer's got to close the gap a little bit on what AC Florence done in football the last couple of years, and see if Corey Jenkins can get that ship going in the right direction.
Be interesting to follow as we head through the upper state and lower state championships in basketball. And I tell you what, there's football is never ends for you guys at Prep Red Zone. What all is the content you guys got going over there for the month of March?
Actually, well, right now we're looking at some early season high-profile games across the state, so people can go ahead and start marking their calendars. Looking at some of the under-the-radar players that we don't have ranked yet, that we expect to have big seasons coming next year. You know, we're continuously talking to coaches, talking to evaluators, and we should be getting out in the next couple of weeks. There'll be some showcase events across the state, and I expect all of us to get out and attend those and give you some names that, like I said, maybe you haven't heard of, other sites, other places, and names to look forward to for the next football season.
Do a great job over there. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at cdeering82 is the way to do that. Sounded much better this week. It turns out when you get good cell reception, the segment goes a lot smoothly, doesn't it? A lot more smoothly.
Yeah, man, those mountains are tough, I tell you.
I bet they were enjoyable, though, man. Glad to have you back from vacation. Look forward to catching up with you next week as we'll preview state championship weekend for the Class A through Class 5A championships. Should be a lot of fun.
Yep, sounds good. I look forward to talking to you guys next week.
Sounds good. Take care, Chris. Chris Deering joining us as he does each and every Friday for the Corley Pool High School Highlights of the Week, where we go through. And again, it is upper state and lower state championship weekend across the state. Should be a lot of good games there. Good luck to all the boys and girls, the coaches that are participating. Again, a lot of Midlands teams, and it would be really neat. Look, I'm not pulling against anybody, but it would be really cool to see my former JV coach, Brett Jones, and Dutch Fork get to a state championship and take on Ridgeview, 2 local teams that would be great to have. Would be a great thing for Midlands basketball to see those 2 teams take on each other in the state championship. We'll continue on. Up next, we'll get back into some NFL talk. Some of you have asked some questions about the Carolina Panthers. We will talk about that. Christian McCaffrey. We'll get Patrick's take on whether he should be traded for picks. As we continue on, you're listening to the Friday episode of The Early Game on 107.5 The Game. 8:31 on a Friday morning, February 25th. What we've been talking about this morning has mostly centered around basketball. South Carolina, both men's and women's. The women last night hammering Texas A&M 89-48. The men tomorrow taking on Alabama, 6 o'clock in Tuscaloosa. A win there. I think South Carolina goes into or would show up in brackets, Patrick. Not on bubbles, but in brackets if they win that game tomorrow, 6 o'clock. You can hear it on 107.5 The Game. You can also watch it on the SEC Network. Big weekend. I think, Patrick, not like last weekend, maybe last weekend because of the two home basketball games, and opening day is always a lot of fun. At Founders Park this afternoon, 4 o'clock. South Carolina hosts George Washington over there. Will Sanders on the mound for the Gamecocks, so you can get out there. Should be a beautiful day. Tomorrow, though, another big television day for you. Basketball-wise, Purdue's at Michigan State at noon. Michigan State not ranked any longer. I know our buddy Scott Hayes is disappointed in his Spartans right now. He was sending in
look good either.
Yeah, he sent in a text, says they're struggling right now. Tom Izzo's team really kind of fumbling down the stretch here, and they will host number 4 Purdue tomorrow. Also at noon, Oklahoma State, former Gamecock Mike Boynton taking his team into Norman. A couple of the bigger games tomorrow across college basketball, Patrick, you mentioned it, are SEC schools. Yep. Kentucky at Arkansas. That should be a really good one. Number 6 Kentucky at number 18 Arkansas, 2 o'clock tomorrow. And then the other game of ranked teams features, again, SEC schools tomorrow. Number 3 Auburn at number 17 Tennessee. That game 4 o'clock as well. So some good games there to get involved in. That's 2, 4, and then at 6 o'clock is, again, that South Carolina Alabama game over in Tuscaloosa. Alabama now number 24 in the most recent poll. So that's a lot of your games. And then tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, top 10 matchup on ESPN. Kansas travels to Baylor. So you'll have a good day of college basketball. For you, Saturdays sometimes mean lacrosse.
Yeah, it's a good lacrosse slate. There's 5 top 20 matchups.
Oh, boy.
I mean, there's Loyola Rutgers. At noon, there's 3 top 20 matchups. 2 top 10. 2 of them are top 10 matchups. And then I think one of them is a top 5 matchup. Yeah, Loyola Rutgers is going to be a really good game. You know where Loyola is?
Chicago.
Oh, Baltimore.
Sure.
Yeah, that Loyola. Loyola
Excellent.
Chicago is in Chicago, but Loyola, that's in Baltimore. Virginia, Syracuse. Virginia's number 2 in the country. Syracuse number 9. Maryland whooped them last week. That was awesome. Kelly was hitting me up on Twitter while I was watching that one. Notre Dame, Georgetown. That's a top 4 matchup.
Oh.
Number 3 versus number 4, I think. Maryland and Princeton. That's a top 20 matchup. Maryland's number 1 in the country. A lot of the I'm interested to watch a lot of these because the Ivy League is phenomenal at lacrosse. Four Ivy League teams are in the top 20 in the country. Yale won the national championship a couple years ago, so they haven't played in 2 years because the season was basically canceled 2 years ago, and then last year the Ivy League just didn't let their teams play. So there's a lot of kids that are freshmen in terms of eligibility, but are like 21 years old now and have done nothing other than just work out. And the kids that stuck around on the Ivy League teams, you got to kind of take your hats off to them because that's pretty admirable. Just sticking around for 2 years, not being able to play. Some of them went to like junior colleges because once your eligibilities run out at the Ivy League school, they kick you out. So a lot of respectable kids stuck around because they want to get the Ivy League education, even though they came there to play lacrosse. So I'm pulling for the Ivy League.
Okay. There's your lacrosse update. So what's the one game that is a must-see? If you're telling somebody to watch lacrosse tomorrow for the first time ever and try and get invested, what are we going? What's the one game? That top 4 matchup sounded pretty enticing.
Yeah, I mean, it's Georgetown and Notre Dame.
Oh,
That's a pretty monstrous game. But Virginia is the defending national champions, and they're heading to the Carrier Dome, and Syracuse is the home of college lacrosse, so that one would be probably pretty solid too.
Okay, see, don't ever tell me we don't just cut up on liver pudding and food discussions and concerts. We give you sports. There's lacrosse. A couple of you've weighed in this morning. What do you got?
Saying because that game must be in Virginia because Duke's going to the Carrier Dome on Saturday, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for basketball.
Because I saw the ticket prices. They're only $51
for
Duke Syracuse tickets.
Syracuse is
it was Coach K's last game.
That's true. That's a good point. But that basketball arena holds.
All the other tickets have been insanely priced. I pulled up the map, the seating map, and there's not every section even available. They don't fill up the whole dome, but there's one. If you look at this, all the blue sections are available for tickets, and there's just one random blue section here in the back corner.
Yeah.
Why would that be the case?
It's where they put the opposing team's fans, I guess. I have no clue.
So. I don't know.
No clue.
You can get in there for not that much.
There you go. Yeah,
You can sit darn near courtside for $300. Coach K's last game, they're starting at 3,000 for the UNC game.
On the Buford Lending live stream, we discussed this earlier. Obviously, the Morgan Wallen concert last night, I was there. Some people, the amount of money that was paid for tickets to that thing was ridiculous. I don't know. Syracuse is 15-13. They're 7th in the ACC. They have won some games here of late to kind of bounce back, but this has not been a good year for Jim Boeheim. I don't know.
That's not the point at all.
But Syracuse is,
Jim Boeheim and Coach K's last matchup, not that they have any sort of really historical rivalry or anything, but they've both been great coaches in the sport for a long time.
But Syracuse's fan base is so, I say spoiled, but I mean, I guess they have a Hall of Fame coach of their own. I don't know if Coach K coming into their building necessarily it might not. I don't know. Syracuse at that game tomorrow at 6:00, number 7 Duke. Didn't mention that one, but traveling.
Coach K had any. Never mind.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
He should have scheduled a game at Maryland this year, but
I think he was afraid he was going to run into you. You were going to go home and tell him how you really feel. We've had a couple of people weigh in, and I do want to ask you about this because you had a great segment on Wednesday when I was out about the Carolina Panthers, and a couple of people, Day and Marshall, have asked this morning, what do the Panthers do with Christian McCaffrey? You're going into the offseason now. You've pointed out the Panthers are in a bad spot. They need a quarterback. They need a lot of other positions. The NFC South is really kind of a dumpster fire of a division right now. We don't know what the Falcons are going to do. It looks like the Bucs are entering rebuild mode. And I guess the Saints, I don't, new coach, trying to figure out a quarterback situation.
I mean, they're the best team in the division. They have the best roster. The Bucs are going to fall apart very soon here. So
what do the Panthers do? What do you do with Christian McCaffrey?
I don't think you have any options. This year, I don't think there's anything to be done. If Panthers fans, I've heard Panthers fans saying, let's just trade Christian McCaffrey and get a second round, another first round pick this year. Like, you're living in fantasy land. You can't I don't think you can trade him for anything. I don't know why anybody would want him right now. He hasn't proven he can be healthy. He's going to cost you $15 million. You think you can't spend $15 million elsewhere? They texted, when's the last time an elite running back won a Super Bowl? It's been a long time. You could argue that it was Marshall Faulk. So over 20 years. I mean, unless you want to say Marshawn Lynch, and I don't know that was the case. And they were led by the Legion of Boom, and Russell Wilson was still the quarterback. So I wouldn't say that, but you just don't need a Christian McCaffrey anymore. And it made sense for the Panthers at the time to extend him because they had just lost Cam Newton. He was the face of the franchise. They had just lost Luke Kuechly. He was one of the greatest players in your history. Your best two players, Brian Burns probably and DJ Moore. Nobody knows much about them because those are also star-studded positions, and Brian Burns is not one of the best edge rushers in the NFL, and DJ Moore is not one of the best receivers in the NFL, even though he is probably the most underrated receiver in the NFL. So you had a new owner and a new coach, and you had money to spend, and you needed to sell tickets and sell jerseys. So you extend Christian McCaffrey because he's a really good running back, maybe the best running back, and he's marketable. But at this point, there's just no value there. I mean, he's always hurt. It's not completely the Panthers' fault. I mean, his position, his workload is crazy. And now that he's almost 26, I just can't see anyone really wanting to give up too much on him after 2 years in a row of barely playing. You can't cut him because this year it's a $26 million dead cap. So you're actually losing money. It's actually worse for you financially to cut him than keep him on the team. Next year, you can consider cutting him because the cap hit will be $17, almost $18 million for him, but the dead cap will be 12 to 13. So you'll save $5 million, but you'll also be just wasting $13 million. So it'll be an interesting situation next offseason, but I just don't know that there's any other possibility other than just letting him play this year and paying him and hoping that he stays healthy. I can't imagine there being a trade partner. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm sure somebody out there that I think what could you get back for
Who?
him?
I mean, who?
Well, but it's kind of like what we just saw, and it kind of is again across the board. Are you willing to push all your chips in to win a Super Bowl? And I don't know if
think he
Christian.
helps.
I was going to say I don't know who, like say the Broncos. They don't really need. I'm trying to think who's right there on the cusp that could use a guy like Christian McCaffrey. I know that every team
I
could
think
use
it'd
a
be
Christian McCaffrey.
malpractice to trade for Christian McCaffrey.
Depends on who you are. And it also depends on what you're giving up. What if your Commanders wanted to give up, say, a 6th and a 7th round pick?
We already have Antonio Gibson. We don't need to pay Christian McCaffrey $15 million to be hurt when we already have a running back who's a good dual threat. I mean, it's not going to be the Jags. I mean, you think about the worst teams in the league. Would they give up anything? The Jags aren't. They just drafted Travis Etienne. The Lions have DeAndre Swift. These are both good running backs. There's no reason to go out there and not only lose an asset, but trade for a $15 million running back who has barely played in the last 2 years.
803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program this morning. So, Patrick, you're saying McCaffrey's not going anywhere, and that
I'm
money
saying
is
it's part of the Panthers being screwed. Like this, I don't know how much blame to put on David Tepper, but Matt Rule has turned them into a trash franchise in very, very quick order. So they really, I'm saying the Panthers need to just bite the bullet on Christian McCaffrey, make him carry the ball 75 times a game, just completely wear him out, use him as much as you can, let him stat pad and win people fantasy championships. He'll probably get hurt, so that'll be that. And then next year, maybe you cut him if you trade him if you can, and then you get rid of Sam Darnold and you can start new. But I don't even know where to start this year with number 6 because most people say just draft an offensive tackle and tank. That's what most of the texts we got.
Well, it feels like with the Panthers that they have inadvertently put themselves in rebuild mode.
Yeah.
That basically this wasn't something like the Philadelphia 76ers years ago where it's like, well, we're just going to stink and get a whole bunch of number 1 picks and we're going to tank on purpose. But this was the Panthers going, hey, we're going to go for success here and try and win a Super Bowl. And oops, now we're a dumpster fire. We're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and their best 2 players, DJ Moore and Brian Burns, are going to be free agents in 2023. So you got to work on extensions with them because you can't lose them. They're just not in a good place at all. They're really not. They're wasting money on so many people that are not worth it. And they're in a position where they kind of need to use their draft pick on a quarterback, even though they all stink this year.
Anthony weighs in on the Buford Lending live stream. Welcome to Big Carrot Radio, Bill. Yeah, you were sizzling there. Just ripping the Panthers apart.
Yeah, see, Day said I would take a non-top 3 round pick to get rid of Christian McCaffrey.
Your point is not so much getting rid of him; it's the money that you get stuck with when you get rid of him.
I mean you can trade him, but somebody has to take that on.
Right,
that's the point.
And your point is there's nobody out there. The other 31 teams, nobody needs that kind of money for a guy who appears to be porcelain.
No general manager would make that trade. Maybe there's an owner who says, "Hey, Christian McCaffrey is available."
Don't put it past some of these general managers out there.
No, it's not the general managers. The general managers are too smart to do that. It's the owner that'll get greedy and say, "Hey, go get me Christian McCaffrey." Like I could see back in the day Dan Snyder doing that, saying, "Go get me that guy. He's a superstar. We need superstars. We need names. We need jerseys." But to say not a non-top 3 round pick, if you were offered a 4th round pick in this year's draft for Christian McCaffrey, I would
not worth it.
No, I would take it in a heartbeat for the Panthers. But I would just think that a team after the last 2 years would be so stupid to trade a 4th round pick for him right now.
Sizzling takes.
You're gonna pay him $15 million to do nothing? Everyone's already got a decent running back. If you need a running back that bad, just draft someone in like the 5th round. Be done with it.
Next
draft
week,
Kenneth Walker from Michigan State.
Next week is NFL Combine week. Patrick will be on his A game. We got to find a way to get the big board in here as he starts analyzing, breaking down, and giving you the lowdown on the NFL draft.
Yeah, hopefully everybody does all the tests. I don't want people sitting out of tests this year.
And get on Twitter and tell them. Get out there. Put yourself out there. 803-404-6100. We'll come back and wrap up the Friday episode of the early game here on 107.5 The Game. Tell you what, after that hot take, David Tepper, Matt Rule, maybe they should just go back to bed. There's no chance for the Panthers. And if they don't have a sleep number bed, it's going to be a long afternoon. They're not going to be able to fall asleep. There's other beds, not comfortable. You can't adjust them. You can't make it fit what helps you get a great night of sleep. And tell you what, for the Carolina Panthers, it sounds like they need a great night of sleep. With sleep number beds, that's exactly what you get. I put my sleep number setting on 45. I knew it was going to be a long day last night. I was at a concert and then got about 6 hours of sleep, but it was a great 6 hours of sleep before I arrived here, all because of the sleep number bed. You can do the same. It is the ultimate sleep number event. And right now, proven quality sleep, you can find out just how much it is indeed life-changing sleep, because it all starts with sleep number adjustability. So get on over to a Sleep Number store today. The final days of the ultimate sleep number event going on, where you can save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed plus special financing, subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See sleepnumber.com for details. This deal ends Monday, February 28th. So get out to a store today. There's two to choose from. One in Irmo on Harbison Boulevard across from Buffalo Wild Wings. The other in Columbia, 2 Road across from Sand Hills Mall. You can visit them on the web, sleepnumber.com. The final days of the ultimate sleep number event, where you can save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed, and there's special financing involved as well. Go visit a Sleep Number store and make the switch to Sleep Number today to find out what a great night of sleep is truly like. Almost more of a parody song because of like something like that.
Could you sing along to it?
Yeah, there we go. I'm sorry. I didn't have the mic on. We were I was watching the Liberty uniform unveiling, where they were playing their what song is that? What is that? Why am I blanking on who sings that?
Come on.
It's not Whitney Houston, is it? Who sings that?
She has another big song that was an original score for one of the biggest romance movies of all time.
Bodyguard? Biggest romance movies of all time?
Yeah.
Tell me that movie.
Titanic.
Huh?
Titanic.
I don't even know the song in that.
My
I've never
heart,
seen Titanic.
My Heart Will Go On.
Huh?
My Heart Will Go On.
Oh, yeah. Who sings? Okay, who sings?
Celine Dion.
Ah. We could have spent another 3 hours here. I wasn't going to get
Never gonna guess it.
I wasn't going to get any of that.
Yeah, Liberty did a dramatic or sing along for their uniform unveiling to "It's All Coming Back to Me Now" by Celine Dion. Yep, go Cox. But if they get down 3-0 in the second inning, hope you can't tweet, "I'm so disappointed in this baseball team" again. Caught that one. Hope stopped just short of being exposed for after the comeback on Sunday. No.
Wrapping up the final Friday episode of February 2022. And just like that, February is pretty much a wrap. We'll come back. We'll do a Monday edition of February. But I tell you what, we go into March. Spring is around the corner. Daylight savings time, I believe, is 2 weekends away where we get the longer days. Kind of nice and crazy. And you get baseball this weekend. Patrick, I guess the one thing we'll be looking for on Monday, along with South Carolina sports, obviously, we'll be talking about, but Major League Baseball. Like, I don't want to see opening day postponed. I think you're getting older.
I do.
I don't want to see opening. That's because your nationals stink. Even Jen's Cubs, even Jen wants to see opening day.
No, honestly, now I'm just kind of growing resentful towards the MLB.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think you're alone in that.
It's like you guys are already destroying your sport. The ratings have dropped in half in over the last 20 to 30 years. And you can't do anything right. You guys are just bickering over billionaires versus millionaires. It's not relatable at all to your audience. You're never want to do anything to grow the game for younger people. They just screw everything up. And I just want them to get a taste of it. I want them to feel it.
All right. I don't think you're wrong. And I think there's a lot of people that are with you on that are tired of the actions of Major League Baseball.
They just can't do anything right.
Yeah.
The stupidest thing that I saw was I think it last year? I think it was last year. This just shows how little we pay attention. Was having the Hall of Fame introductions at like noon on a Wednesday or something, and you were inducting Derek Jeter.
Yeah. They announced the Gold Glove winners, I think, during NFL games. They're just a joke.
They need to find some direction, and
they think that people will never stop watching baseball because it's America's pastime. The college game's growing. The MLB game is becoming less relevant every single year. They need to make some changes. So maybe this is what they need. Maybe they need to cancel games and people just not watch the sport at all.
South Carolina and George Washington at Founders Park this afternoon, 4 o'clock. Gamecocks basketball team travels to Tuscaloosa tomorrow, 6 o'clock. And Dawn Staley's team traveling to Oxford, Mississippi, 2 o'clock on Sunday. We'll cover all that. And there's an interesting article we'll get into as well on college football attendance next week. We hope you have a great weekend. Good job, Patrick. Way to carry me. Jen, way to do whatever it is you do in there. We'll see all of you on Monday.
Correct.
yeah, it's pretty limited what I do.
Correct. Anthony's Pirates are owned by one of those non-passionate owners. Also correct, Mark. Rob Manfred is the worst commissioner in sports.
Yes. Get him out and let's start fresh.
Happy Friday. Anthony, you have a great weekend. Mark, DC.
Happy Friday. You're almost there. You're all almost there.